Hey, welcome to the 437th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big, awesome supporter of the show. You can be a supporter. You can be awesome and be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I often do some look backs, classic comic books. Been doing a lot of What If, Marvel's What If. Last week I did another Back to the Future off my mind. This was a little more focused on Back to the Future 3. Talk about paradoxes in the movie and why they're kind of fun to think about and how we can kind of justify or excuse things or whatever. This week I think we're going to go to the 60s. Look at a classic comic. Actually, here's something I haven't really done a lot lately. We're going to go to DC Comics this week. We're going to do a Silver Age book. So there's going to be some weird things happening there. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 4. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What do we have going on this week? We have the movie feature. I was just about to say, this is the first podcast of the year, but I think technically, wasn't last week's? Yeah. So the second podcast of the year. Our movie feature is Primate. So it's a movie about an evil monkey. I went in with zero expectations, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. And that's usually what happens, usually. So I have some stuff to talk about that. And I will say also, in case you're listening at this point, you're like, oh, should I go see it or not? It seems like some people are liking it. It's decent Rotten Tomato score so far. I don't know what it is exactly. I'll look it up later. But people in my theater, as they're walking out, they seem to enjoy it. So I'll talk more about that. So we have Primate. We have the penultimate episode of Stranger Things. So we have episode 507, The Bridge. This is the one that got review bombed. So we are definitely going to talk about that. What's the reason? Why might it be? It's not too hard to figure out what's going on. And I will say this, I actually spent time scrolling through IMDb to look and seeing what all these low scores were about. Of course, none of them are really saying the main thing. People are complaining that the movie was the episode was kind of sidetracking things, interrupting the action or whatever. But at the same time, are you saying that you just want it all to be over and that's it? There was some talking. You're setting things up, and we're getting ready to say goodbye to these characters. If you were invested, why would you be oh man, I wish there's. I don't understand when people are oh, it was too long. You could have cut this. When they say it about movies all the time. If I'm paying $15 or whatever for a movie, I want to get as much out of it as possible. And yes, there are some times where a movie might feel bloated or whatever. But this is a TV show we're talking about. You're talking about episodic content. If it's too much, you know what? You can always pause it and not binge every single episode in one sitting if it's feeling like too much. But I enjoyed the episode, so you'll hear more about that. We got the third episode of season 2, Fallout, and I definitely enjoyed this episode more than episode 202. And that's it for a TV show. We only got 2 shows right now, but that's taking enough time. And we got comic books, and we got some news, a little bit of news. I guess we'll start with Doomsday trailers. So the 4th trailer dropped. So if you went and saw Avatar, I guess it would have been last week, you would have seen the 4th trailer. I have not seen it. So Marvel, they'll probably release it this week. It seems like I think they've been doing a week. Yeah, because didn't they release the X-Men one, the 3rd one, last week? So we should get it this week. Spoiler, because whatever. I mean, I'm assuming you're not I'm about to head to the theater to watch Avatar again. So what the last trailer is Black Panther. We have like Shuri, and but you also see apparently I read like someone like people talking about it. I have not seen it. You apparently see Namor and M'Baku, King M'Baku. You see the thing in there, and you see Shuri's costume apparently. So we have that. I'm a little upset because I was hoping it was going to be Deadpool. So yeah, there's that. And then when are we going to get like a proper trailer is what I want to know. So we'll have to wait. Sebastian Stan. So Sebastian Stan is apparently is going to be in The Batman 2 in an undisclosed role. I don't know what to make of this because apparently I've not seen the actual thing. I saw what may be the image and it looked fake. Supposedly Sebastian Stan's stylist leaked who he's playing in the movie. And if that's the case, oh my gosh, that person, I mean, it's basically Sebastian Stan's, I'm assuming he's going to have to take the heat for that. Because I would imagine when you take one of these jobs, especially when they're being secretive about it, it's one thing if you're going to be like, if you're cast in the sequel to The Housemaid, it's not that hard to figure. It's like, okay, who are you playing? You must be playing Old Man Worthington or whatever. I forget the character's name that's in the book. It's not really a big secret. But when you're in one of these comic book movies, especially if you're a new actor, it's like the sky's the limit. You know, there are like literally like thousands of comic book characters that you could be portraying. Obviously, it's a little limited if you're like, oh, you're in an Avengers movie or whatever. You're in a Batman movie. Okay, there's like a handful of people it could possibly be. So Sebastian Stan, and I'm assuming if Sebastian Stan he gets the job or he gets the role, he auditioned, he gets hired. I would assume there's some sort of NDA process. They're like, okay, we're gonna make a big deal when we announce this, so we can let it go out that you're in talks, that you audition, or even that you've been hired. Because, you know, like Scarlett Johansson, she's supposed to be in a movie. I don't think we've had an official, you know, disclosure of who she's playing. And they're going to wait for some, maybe what they're going to do is they're going to drop a trailer and then they can say, okay, we're going to get all these views, or monetize the trailer, you know, make some money off it or something. Or maybe there's going to be some convention, just nothing until WonderCon. So I don't know what it is. So like Scarlett Johansson, they're saying that she's probably going to play Harvey Dent's wife. And you know, there was one rumor, I don't remember if I talked about it, where they're saying that they're doing a gender bent Harvey Dent. So she's actually going to be Harvey Dent. She's actually going to be Two-Face, Harvina Dent. I don't know. But now with Sebastian, and if that's the case, if she's playing Harvey Dent's wife, who's going to play Harvey Dent? Oh, Sebastian Stan's, maybe he's going to do it. And according to his stylist, that's what he's doing. So I don't know if there was this image that was released, and I think I saw it on Threads, and there was one commenter like, oh, you just learned how to use Photoshop, or I mean, because it wasn't the cleanest image. But if his stylist did it, man, you can't post that out there. And because apparently it was deleted like right away, but people still saw it. So Harvey or Sebastian Stan might be Harvey Dent. I don't know. We'll have to see. But man, what did you do to the stylist? Does Sebastian Stan have to fire a stylist? He's probably, I'm assuming, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he's probably had the stylist for years at least. But then does he say, man, I got in a lot of trouble because of you, so I have to let you go? But it's like, unless it's a new stylist, it's like how dumb could you be to put that out there? Because if he's been in the Marvel movies for years now, they should know how the game is played. I mean, are you like not looking at any of the outlets or anything like that where there's not been a single official piece of what Sebastian Stan's doing? And if he's your client, then wouldn't you kind of be like, wanting to see what social media is saying. If you're his stylist, you should be looking at it like, oh, what are people commenting on how I styled him for this event or whatever. So I don't know. That just seems kind of crazy. This kind of bothered me because I saw this on X on Twitter, and I saw. So I at first I was like, oh wait, I saw it on Twitter, stuff about the Blade movie, and I was like, has anything been announced? And then I saw a post. I was like, oh wait, maybe this is announced. Then I saw a report. So it's like it's still not 100%. I mean, I don't think there's been an official announcement, but what they're saying is the Blade movie is now officially canceled. It is not officially canceled because, as far as I know, Marvel hasn't straight up officially said it is canceled. But because we have these insiders, people are saying, yes, this is the case. And maybe that is, maybe if you have the actual sources, but it is not official until it is official. So the word is the Blade movie, which this was announced back in 2019. And we're in 2026 now. So 2019, I think it was Comic-Con, right? Where they said this movie is going to happen. It's apparently not going to happen. But Midnight Suns supposedly is still going to happen with Blade. So they're like, we're not going to do a solo Blade movie. We're going to do a Midnight Sun movie. Who else is? I don't know. And I never even saw like an official statement that they're doing. I thought Midnight Suns is just people like, oh, we should do this. I don't know. I mean, maybe I missed that official thing. What about Tom Hiddleston? He commented on who his favorite, or he was asked who, for some reason, I didn't see the whole thing or figure out, like, who's his favorite Spider-Man actor? And then he said, for reasons I cannot disclose, Tom Holland. So what does that mean? What we assume is like, why is Tom Holland his favorite actor? For reasons you cannot disclose, does that mean that the two of you share a scene in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars, and you really got a lot of respect for him, or you thought he was really cool or really nice, or is it that you just binged all the movies and I don't know? So we have that to possibly think about. Sarah Michelle Gellar, she was talking about the new Buffy show. Apparently, I don't know if I missed this or not, but it is not going to be called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm not even sure. I saw it like two different places where I don't know if it's Buffy : or if it's just this other. So it's going to be called New Sunnydale, but it might be called Buffy : New Sunnydale. I think you should have Buffy in there so people know what it is. Because if it's just New Sunnydale, people might miss out on that. We possibly have this. And Sarah Michelle Gellar was talking about, like, it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's a continuation. That's why they still have, like, Buffy in the name, possibly. And so, yeah, we'll have to see, like, what that means. But I guess it's going to pick up from where, like, the original series left off, and what's going on in the world, and so forth, and where they're at. That's good. I don't know if they originally had a date, but there may have been a delay or something like that. And I think she said that they want to make sure they get it right. They're not just going to. And I always say that, yeah, that's the important thing. Make sure it's good. We don't want things to be crawling at a snail's pace. There should be some deadlines and stuff like that. But if you're doing a continuation, what's the matter if it's a month late, 6 months late? It's still going to happen. It's been years. So what's a little longer? Just make sure everything is great, because if you start off and then like that first shot is bad, then people might be like, I'm not going to watch this, and they won't give it a chance. I don't know. Maybe. Ahsoka 2. I guess there's been speculation on this, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just not attuned to stuff where I think there was a Disney put out like a 2026 type of thing or whatever like that, and Ahsoka wasn't included in that, but it was before. So people were kind of wondering, it's like, wait, when is Ahsoka 2 coming out? Because we don't have a release date. Is it not coming out this year since it wasn't included somewhere? But now there's something where it just says coming 2026. So they've confirmed 2026. Obviously, that could still change, but at least we know it's this year and not like next year. Because there's a few stuff that Disney's putting out. Disney Plus has for 2026. So it gives us something to look forward to. Now there is a rumor, I think, that a Jessica Jones show might be in development. I have no idea how accurate that could be. Yeah, she's did some stuff for Daredevil. So is there really a show happening? I don't know. And then there was the Strange Academy. So that was supposed to be a Disney Plus show. It's supposed to be like a spinoff of Doctor Strange. I don't know how I feel about that as a TV show. And are you going to have Benedict Cumberbatch involved or not? But it was canceled, but now they're saying that it's resumed development. They might be thinking like, maybe we will try to do this. And okay, we'll see. And I guess they're looking for a new head writer. So I don't know. Why did it get put on pause or before? Were they not happy with the writing? Were they just, I do not know. So I don't know what do people want? I mean, I guess, you got like, Harry Potter and you got like, the Wednesday, you got some magic stuff out there. And then is this going to be like a show about kids in school, which, you can try to get the young crowd to hopefully, I don't know. So we shall have to wait. And speaking of waiting, we have just a little bit more to wait. There was another trailer for The Strangers Chapter 3. So as you probably know, I am super looking forward to this movie. I've enjoyed these movies, like just really going into this world. Like, who are these people? What is their deal? What's their motives? Because I feel like the other movies never answered that. And again, who the heck is Tamara? Is Tamara home? So hopefully we'll find out. And the second movie, which I don't think they've released that. I need my steelbook for that. So I'm looking forward to those. I'm a fan of Madeline Petch, so I can't wait to see that. So February 6th, we have that. And then this is the last thing I want to mention. When I saw Primate, there was a trailer for a movie. At first, I totally forgot what the name was, because then, like, the next day, I was gonna like ask my buddy. I was like, "Did you see this trailer?" And I was probably like, "It's probably been out for like 2 months, and I just missed it somehow." And then I'm looking on YouTube. I was gonna send them trailers. Like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And then I was like, "Wait, what's the name of the movie?" And I thought I knew what it was, but then I was like, "No, that's a Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence movie." I was like, "Is it called Passenger?" I was like, "No." Then I'm like looking. I was like, "What could it be?" And I'm trying to, just search. I even did like a search in Google, like describing what's going on in the trailer. That this guy, there's these two guys driving in a car. One guy has to pee, so they pull over. The guy's peeing, and I'm not going to spoil the whole trailer. This guy's peeing, and then like the horns honking, and he's like, "Come on, I'm coming, dude," or whatever. He goes back, and his buddy's not in the car. So he's like, "What's going on here?" And so obviously something's going on, and then something happened to his buddy, and it's a creepy movie, and that's all I want to say, because he jumps in the car, and then something else happens, and so forth. But I was like, there's kind of a creepy vibe. It could be like a totally cheap movie. I don't know, but when I saw that trailer, I was like, ooh, I like the feel of this trailer, and what they show you, like the next part that I don't want to spoil. I'm like, that's some creepy imagery there. It's like, I don't know what is going on here. I cannot find a trailer anywhere. I think I found, so the movie, I'm pretty sure, is called Passenger. And I'm almost positive it's a Paramount release. I could be wrong about that. And I saw, when I was searching on YouTube, because I even tried, I was like, is it Passenger? Because I found on IMDb, I looked at like horror movies in 2026, and I'm like, nope. And I saw this movie called Passenger that's expected apparently May 29th. I was like, that could be it. But there's no information. If you go on IMDb, I think I said IMDb, there's no image, there's no trailer. what this says, a few weeks into their van life adventure, a young couple witnesses a horrific accident that leaves the driver dead. Soon, they're being pursued by a demonic stalker who is impossible to outrun and follows them wherever they go. That could be it, because maybe the guy peeing on the side of the road, he gets in a car, maybe he gets in an accident later that they don't show us in his trailer, and maybe that's who this other people, so they can show this part because it's not like the main part of the movie in the trailer. But I don't know, and I don't know if I said, I saw there's like two like reaction to trailer or reaction to passenger or something like that. Where is this trailer at? So I don't know what's going on, but it could be good, or it might be really, really cheap or whatever. Keep an eye out for that if you see that trailer. I saw the trailer when I saw Primate. Why? How can this trailer not be online anywhere? Because I looked on YouTube, I looked on Google, I looked on IMDb, and this is the only thing I can think of. But that's also the only things that I can talk about for the news, because that's it. But there's more. That is the news for the week, and that's horror. I don't know why I struggle like segueing out of the segment. Okay, let's talk about comic books. Let's just forget that happened. With comic books, there was nothing at Image that I read. I don't even know they put out that many books, unless I missed something. I still feel like sometimes, because there's no, and I don't even know if Previews World exists anymore. I haven't even bothered checking it. But with just how things are being distributed and everything, half the time it's like, am I reading all the books that are supposed to be coming out? So sometimes I miss books, but I don't think Image they put out like a couple books that I'm not reading, and some trades and stuff like that. I did at Dynamite. I think there was a Thundercats, maybe Thundercats Lost, or one of those that I'm just so far behind. I'm bummed, because I do like Thundercats, but I did read Blue Falcon #5, and I don't know how much I've described from the last issue. So basically, Blue Falcon, someone like stole his like hover belt or whatever, anti-gravity belt or something like that. And it was this, I forgot her name now. Not Beast Woman or something like that. And because she was going to sell it so she can buy all this land in the Amazon. So Blue Falcon and Dynamite, they kind of hung on to, they basically followed this jet down there, and they're trying to get to the bottom of things, and someone else was kidnapped, and so it's just, I would say like Dynamite gets a little hardcore, because then he comes face to face with because there's one guy that's like working for, spoiler, for Beast Woman or whatever her name is. He's like, yeah, I killed you once, I'll kill you again. So this is a guy, because Dynamite was basically almost killed, like beat, like left for dead. And Dynamite, even though he's been repaired and whatever, he's not happy about that. So I enjoyed the issue, and then the ending was like, okay, I see. But I'm really curious to see where else this is going to go. Like what's going to happen after this? So we got some things to look forward to. At Marvel, we had all new Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider. Okay, got issues with, they're doing the bands together. So we got Gwen, she's in the 616 now. She's playing drums. Cindy Moon, Silk, she's playing, I think, bass or something like that. And I had no idea she was musically inclined or whatever. So she's, joining Gwen's band. And they end up getting a singer guitarist who was apparently the ex of the dude that joined her band, who was killed by, I won't say in case you're behind with your reading. So they got this band, and they need to come up with a name, and they got like a battle of bands thing coming up and everything like that. And then they like get attacked during a show, or there's a Shriek comes in. Shriek of all people. I can't stand Shriek. They're talking about like Shriek from Maximum Carnage Shriek. They start going into action against them. So it's like, oh hey, here we're in this band. but we are also costume superheroes. Here's my secret identity. Congrats. You cannot tell the villains your secret identity because it's just what do you do? You have no civilian life because they know everything about you. So they get in this fight, and I don't even know what's going to happen with Shriek, and we'll see. And then also with their other member of the band, then they're trying. She's like, okay, whatever, and like she goes to Gwen's apartment, and she's there, and Gwen comes to the window. She's like, oh, I must have come in the wrong window, and she's like, whatever, Gwen, we need to work in these lyrics. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Amazing Spider-Man 19. This is a Peter Parker issue, so out in space, and he's still he wants to confront that. Was that Hell's Gate? Is that the guy's name that like really beat him up? And Peter wants to make his way back to Earth. Should he try to? Now he's thinking, it's like, I need to fight Hell's Gate, even though because he beat him so much, it's like such a defeat. It's like he wants to make himself stronger, so he doesn't get defeated like that again. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. My concern is Peter's sort of picked up a temporary, I don't know, if it's temporary, like a love interest. She's an alien. She doesn't have like normal skin color, so she's gonna kind of stand out on Earth. Is she going to stick around or not? And because I don't know, like, do they have a commitment going on? I mean, they seem like things are expanding. So yeah, what's Peter going to do when he gets on Earth? So I don't know. Then we had I didn't read. There's Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts. Yeah, there was a story by Mark Waid, but it was about Doctor Strange. And then there's Anthony Oliveira with Javier Pulido. Jorge Fornes did the Mark Waid art. And then Victor Laval with art by Bruno Bull de Oliveira. Yeah, so I kind of looked at a couple pages. I'm like, nah. And then we have Marvel's Rivals. I know nothing about Marvel Rivals. I don't know who I don't even know what the game's really about. All I know is that they're kind of creating new characters, which is what I'm getting annoyed with, because I still play Marvel Puzzle Quest, and a couple of the Marvel Rival characters are making their way there. So on the cover of Marvel Rivals, there's this, I forget her name, even though I have the character, I've earned the character in Puzzle Quest. She has like some snow powers, and right now what I'm seeing is this sword master dude. I'm like, who the heck is this? This does not look like a Marvel character, but I think that's what's going on here. So I don't really know what the story is. I do hope if people are playing the game and if the comics are good, which I mean, Paul Allor is writing it, and he's a good writer. I hope that people are enjoying this, that like, oh, I'm playing this game. Oh, cool, there's a comic that relates to this. It would just be like, I guess, why isn't there a Fortnite comic? I mean, we had Batman, Fortnite, whatever. But I would think that if someone's like really into the game, maybe they would like it, maybe not. But yeah, I don't know anything about it. Nova Centurion, number 3. So yeah, I don't want to spoil things here, but Nova is like facing off this dude, and yeah. I mean, I'd say we're gonna have the conclusion of that fight, but the way things go down is kind of interesting. And then later we kind of see something, and I'm like, I may be a little naive, but I was like, does this mean what I think it means? And if you read the issue, you probably know what. You're probably like, yeah, of course, Tony. He might have done something that's like, really? It's like, did you really do that? Then we have Spider-Man Noir, number 4. And so we this guy on the cover, I'll say, is it's interesting that he's on a cover. I didn't really pay attention to cover before I read it, but he's like in the first few pages, and he, with his goggles, he can see ghosts. So I don't know if this is something that's going to be addressed again, because after Spider-Man Noir, he actually puts on the goggles and he's like, oh, there actually are a bunch of ghosts around here. It's like, what are they doing? And they're being a little inappropriate, whatever. But people don't realize that there's ghosts around because they can't see them. And then he's like, well, whatever, what they don't know that won't hurt them, type of thing. But it's like, are we gonna readdress this? But then the thing is, there's someone else that's like basically killing people, like absorbing their energy, type of thing. So Spider-Man is gonna have a confrontation with this person, and it's not gonna go well. So we'll just leave it at that. Then we have Han Solo, The Hunt for the Falcon. I feel like I should go back and read these because we're 5 issues in, and here I thought it's like, oh, this is probably just like a 4-issue miniseries. Apparently not. So I don't know what's going on. I should read those just to see. We have Ultimate Wolverine number 13. I flipped through a couple pages and I think there's some stuff about Ileana. I don't know anything about this book, but part of it is like Ultimate Universe is apparently ending. I wasn't super crazy about Ultimate Wolverine to begin with. It's like, oh, Ultimate, Wolverine, he's a Winter Soldier, whatever. It's like, why should I start reading it if it's about to end? Same thing with Ultimate X-Men. I liked the idea of what was going on, but I just stopped reading because I didn't have time, and so I don't know what's going to happen there. And it feels like they're like so separate from the rest of the Ultimate Universe, even though they were in the Ultimate Incursion or whatever that was. But yeah. Then we have Venom 253. Oh man. So we got Madame Mask. I don't even know, like, what normal number is this? Because I was like, how we've had so much Madame Mask. I mean, I think she's been here like since the first issue of this volume, and I'm not super I don't mind her once in a while, but it's just like so much, and I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but it's basically, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Madame Mask has figured out, because I don't think it was this issue, it was previous issue. She figured out that all new Venom is, and this isn't a spoiler, is Mary Jane. And this is the problem. This is like what I was saying before. The villains cannot know the hero's identity because nothing is safe. How can you just like, oh, you're gonna have this illegal gambling, whatever circuit thing happening? You can't do that. I'm gonna bust it up, and then it'd be like, yeah, you bust it up. I'm gonna bust your Aunt Anna's, head. Whatever. Villains should never know the hero's secret identity because it makes them way too vulnerable. We had an issue of Wolverine, 14, Shadows of Tomorrow. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what's going on, and I didn't read it, so I'm never gonna know. Then we had Age of Revelation epilogue, Shadows of Tomorrow. You know what? Here's the thing. Oh, I feel dumb now. I thought I read this. Apparently, I did not. When I saw that, because I was thinking of last week's X-Men Revelation, which that was like maybe like the second or third Marvel comic that I read. So when I saw with the list of comics, like, oh, there's X-Men comics, like, yeah, I read that. It was like one of the first ones I read. I did not read this issue, and that's kind of crazy. So you have to wait till next week to hear about that, because I'm assuming some important stuff goes down here. At DC Comics, we had Absolute Batman Arc M. Arc M. Why did they call it Arc M? Because it's supposed to be Arkham. Arc M. And this is basically, like, we find out about Arkham Asylum. I feel like I missed something with Ultimate Joker, because there's some mention of the Joker, or not Ultimate. Why did I say Absolute Joker? I don't know if I said Ultimate, but there's been talk of Joker. Has Joker been introduced already, or is it just because he was announced, or he was in a preview, or I don't know, but we kind of get some background maybe that's sort of related but not directly. So I don't know. And this was if I'm going to be honest, I didn't love the art. There's some questionable things in my limited whatever art understanding ability, but it's like sometimes like the head shape were just it kind of threw me off. I'm like, wait, what? I don't know. But it's a nice story. I'm hesitant to say this, but there's kind of a twist. And when you read it, but see, this is why I'm a little hesitant, because if you know there's a twist, I don't know. I feel like oh, it's not that hard to take a guess. Like if I tell you there's a twist, and you're like, oh, then this is probably going to happen, right? But maybe it's not super obvious. I don't know. It was a good ending, whatever. But yeah. Then we have Batman issue 5. So this is the Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez. I love this book. First of all, the visuals are just like so, bam. They're so crisp and the colors and the action scene. And in Matt Fraction, I just love his writing, and I just love this book. And there's some cool things happening here. So even though it's Batman, this is really like a Bruce Wayne story, but some action starts coming down, and he needs to act defensively because he's with someone, and yeah. So this was really good. There was a Absolute Superman issue 15. I feel like I should. Is it too late? I feel like I didn't give it a fair shot, but I kind of started losing interest. And I was just like, I just stopped. I was like, I don't have time, so I'm not going to read it. But I don't know if I kind of got caught up to figure out what's going on. Am I going to like it more now, or am I still going to be like, yep, I still don't care for this? I don't know. DCKO Nightfall number 3. I'm reading this. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Because it's like we basically. So what my understanding is, Batman was defeated in the fights. But then he was thinking he figured out a way to kind of cheat death. And then he's in Gotham, but it's like, was he in a coma all this time? Because then like Nightwing is Batman, he's like older. And it's just, because then we have like other members of the family. And I then it's like, wait, is that really Batman? I don't know what's happening here. There was Absolute Green Lantern. There was JSA 15. I was like, I haven't read this in a while. And that would kind of worked against me, because then I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I don't know if this was, for some reason I have in my head this was part 3. Something was part 3 this week. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I should just stop. But I was like, well, I'm just kind of curious. I think I was kind of curious. And, because I want to know like what's happening with the series. Like, what have I missed? Can I just jump in? Because it's still Jeff Lemire writing. Yeah, I don't know. Something was off, because I maybe it was like was it like year 1 part 3? Just like something about I don't know. But I mean, if this is part 3, obviously I missed part 1 and 2, and something. It was just about the vibe or something just off for me. We had Batman, Green Arrow, to question Arcadia. I don't know what's going on there. Cheetah and Cheshire robbed the Justice League. Okay, I'm not reading this, so I don't know. We have, that's all I read. Oh, no, kind of. So there's Adventure Superman, Book of L. There's a Poison Ivy. I forget what number it was. But Batgirl. So with Batgirl, so Batgirl 15, I decided, because I really like Batgirl. I think she's a really cool character. So I thought I'd check out. Last I read, I don't even remember the number, where Cassandra found out that she had a half brother. It's like, where's it going to go from there? Oh, and then so they're at this place where someone's like, that Al Ghul woman, whatever, and I'm like, Al Ghul, what? And then Cassandra's having these dreams, and I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so that's it. And then I think I mentioned there's Poison Ivy. There's a Teen Titans Go. That is it. This is the fizzle out ending of comics coverage. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to take a nap, but we still got so much more podcasts to talk about.
All right, Fallout. So we're season 2. This week we're going to do season 2, episode 3, The profligate. And I'm pretty sure I am like a week behind. So this week, when you listen to this, episode 5 is going to come out, because I think 4 is out now. Yeah. So as I record this, 4 is out. I just did 3. So something like that. Does that make sense? I'm a week behind. That one sounds like 2 weeks. Whatever. Week and a half behind, somewhere around there. Now, as I mentioned last week, episode 2, I didn't love it as much as like the first season. I was like, ugh. And what I realized, I'm not digging the whole brotherhood, the common whatever, that whole storyline. I get that they're like a big part of the world, like that we're looking at now, but I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just like, So this episode, I did like this episode a little more, but I also feel like there was less of them. The armored suits are cool. And, just the whole idea, I guess, training to be a knight and, fighting these things, whatever. But there's just a lot about that I don't really care. And maybe because there's like hints of like politics involved with that. And I mean, for me, it's mostly like, I want to see like Lucy and Ghoul. It's like, what is there, and what the heck is Hank doing? What's going on there? And, one of the things that's happening in this episode is, so here's a funny thing. I mentioned Lucy and Ghoul. How can you not like Lucy? She's almost like wholesome, but she's not quite wholesome because of the way, stuff that happened. But, she's a likable character. And Ghoul, when, he's not really a likable character, but he's, when he first season, I'm like, man, this guy, and even like earlier this season, the other episode, he's kind of a jerk a lot of the times. Like even, I think it was the first episode of second season when, Lucy's drinking water and he's like, water, and he's like, grabs it out of her hand. And, she's going on about the golden rule and everything like that. And as we're seeing more of the flashback, especially I think this episode really, for me, is like a turning point for Ghoul and Cooper Howard. Yeah, let's get to it. It starts off, so we see that dude Thaddeus. So Thaddeus, he was like in the Knights or whatever, and he was kind of a jerk. He like bullied Maximus and everything like that, and then he kind of became his squire when Maximus took Titus's like position, like his armor and that, and Thaddeus didn't know that it was Maximus or whatever. Last season at the end, he like took that serum or whatever, and then he started healing from stuff, but then it turned out that it was really turning him into a ghoul. So we see him, he's drinking this big mug of something. At first I was like, was he having like a beer or something like that? But no, he's actually manning a factory for like soda. And it wasn't super clear to the beginning, is this soda or is this beer? But there's all these kids working there, and it's like, wait, are some of those kids ghouls? There's like kid ghouls and like looks like regular kids. And then, he's just like walking around, and he's I don't know how he got from where we saw him in the end of season 1 to now he's got a soda factory. And, he's walking around. One kid's sad. He's like, so-and-so said I look like a ghoul. And he's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. He's like, I'm a ghoul. And then he points out this other kid's like, that whatever kid's a ghoul. But she's almost like, ew, yuck, or something like that. So then he decides to talk to everyone. He reminds them that they're all really, really lucky to be here. He's like, here, we've got it made. We've got a roof over our heads, a very well-defended perimeter. And this kid's like, well, what about water? And he's like, just drink the soda, all right? And he's like, know what the best part of this place is? Nobody wakes you up in the morning to do push-ups or make you carry a big old bag all the time. He's like, I'd say life's pretty good. He's like, and what do we always say? The kids are like, most kids are dead by this age. He's like, okay, back to work. It's like, all right. Then we see Lucy and the woman that she kind of helped out, gave like the med patch, serum, whatever thing to. They're like brought in by these like armored dudes, not armored suits, so they're wearing armor, like pads and stuff like that. They're brought through these sort of like makeshift gates or whatever. And then she sees like, there's like one guy getting whipped, the other guy is getting his teeth yanked out by pliers. They're like clearly like torturing him, punishing them, doing something. Then they're brought in this like big tent, and this dude wearing kind of like a metal helmet, whatever, he has an armored helmet. He says to the lady, he's like, you've lost your legionary. and so, which I'm assuming the guy that Ghoul slit his throat, whatever. But he was infected anyways from the rad scorpion. She's like begs, she's like, please, sir, please. And then he swings a sword, and like 97% decapitates her. He like practically slices. It's just like hanging on by a little bit. She goes down, and then the helmeted dude like takes Lucy to this other area. So here's the thing: Lucy saves her, brings her there, and then she just gets killed right away. So the dude removes his helmet, and I'm like, what the heck? It's friggin' Macaulay Culkin. I somehow missed it. I had no idea that Macaulay Culkin was going to be in Fallout Season 2. So his name is Lacerta Legate or something like that. And he's like, Ave, like profligate. She steps forward to this dude. He's like, almost looks like this emperor type dude. He's kind of like consulting with another talking. And Lucy's like, hi, sir. And then Lacerta, Macaulay Culkin's like, how dare you address the great Kaiser? So the closed captions, his name is Caesar. You know, like Caesar, like Rome, like Caesar salad, Caesar, but they're pronouncing it Kaiser. And Lucy's like, Kaiser? She's like, do you mean Caesar? She's like, I believe Kaisers were German, and you guys have more of a Roman theme, so I think it's Caesar. And it's like, okay, Lucy, dude, I don't know if you should be making this point here. Then she hears like some torture screams in the background, and the advisor says to the Kaiser, you know, something about, you know, the like this is the one or something like that. Lucy steps forward. She's like, because they're still haven't talked to her. She's like, sir, please, I see that this is a work camp, and if I may, I'm very. And then Lacerta, he's like, shh. She's like, we're negotiating the rights to your prima noctis, and she's like, prima noctis, and he like kind of smirks. And so prima noctis means like the right to the first night or something like that. And she's like, okay, first of all, shame on you. She's like, that is awful. And secondly, prima noctis isn't even a Roman tradition. It's from the Middle Ages, and they were just nasty people borrowing a Latin phrase. And as much as I want to respect your traditions, there is a line to all that, which I think we have found. And you should all know that I'm not even a virgin. And like, you know, some of the soldiers like kind of gasp or something like that. And she's like, and that's not even including all of the cousin stuff I did, which is at least a page or two on my resume. She's like, so it looks like we're out of options. And then we see her hands are like tied, and she's like kind of shoved forward. And she's like, if you don't mind me saying it, it seems like you guys might have lost your way out here. And then Lacerta's like, I wouldn't expect a profligate like you to understand. We're at war. And she's like, with who? And Macaulay Culkin's like, the new California Republic, the Khans, the Brotherhood. But first, we must conquer the unrepentant members of Kaiser's Legion over there. And she's like, there's two Caesars? He's like, the great founder of this empire, he died, and we've been at war ever since over who should be his heir. He wrote down the name of a successor. He placed it in his divine pocket, but every time we try to retrieve it, the false Kaiser and his followers, they shoot at us. So we're at a stalemate. And you see like this body, like almost like a skeletal body, and you know, there's sticking out of the pocket, there's like a piece of paper, but they can't get to it. She's like, I may be able to help you. I have experience with family counseling and sometimes conflict resolution. It's easier than you think. And then later you see, oh geez, she's like hanging up like on a cross, like a crucifix, whatever. She's tied up there. Then she calls out to Lacerta. She's like, this isn't Rome, this is America. And he's like, is it? And she's like, yeah, it is, at least according to all the maps. And he's like, maps are drawn by the dead. All that remains of America is the overwhelming evidence of its failure. Now, if you'll excuse me, we have a war to win. She like scoffs. She's like, you know, speaking as someone who's seen upwards of 15 different movies, if you think everyone else is a bad guy, chances are you're the bad guy. He's like, but good is not a meaningful vector in history, only strength. And he walks off. At the old hospital, Ghoul like grunts as he tries crawling. He makes it a little bit. He rests his head like on this ledge, and then Dogme's so cute. I just love German Shepherds. He returns and he kind of like lays next to him. She's like so sweet. And Ghoul takes out this little blade and he looks at the nasty wound from the rad scorpion piercing, and he starts like kind of digging out because it's almost like I don't even. It's just infected and it just looks nasty, whatever. So it's painful, But he's like starting to cut it out, and while he's cutting, he's talking to the dog, and after he painfully digs out the pus area, he starts petting dog meat and like rubbing his face and everything. And he's like, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. He's like, it's just been a while since I had someone worth talking to. So, because he had a dog when way back also. So we get a flashback. So Gould is Cooper. He's at home and he hears his wife Barb like crying in the kitchen or something like that. So she's packing this metal tin marked keepsakes, property of Barbara Howard or something like that. And he comes in just like, he sort of gives her a look before she like sees him, and then because he knows that she's like up to some shady stuff, like what's going on with the shelters and the bomb and whatever. He puts on a big smile and he's like, "Oh, you okay?" And she's like, "I can't seem to get Janie's teddy into the keepsake box, for the vault." And she says that she just hates leaving anything behind. He's like, "Well, we may not have to, right?" And she nods because she knows better. They're gonna obviously end the world type of thing. So she picks up this frame photo of the three of them, and then he's like, well, I got to go to this thing for Charlie. So then at American Veteran Entertainment Alliance annual fundraiser, he asks Charles Whiteknife, Charlie, he asks him discreetly, he's like, what do you know about Robert House? And I think it is House, right? Not Hauser, House, Robert House. And the guy, Charlie's like, all he's heard about that he's building some kind of weapon system in Vegas. He's like, our intel thinks it's connected to what you heard Barb talking about. He's like, your intel? He's like, well, it's blueprints and a bunch of phone records, but whatever. And Cooper's like, well, do you know what your boss wants me to do to him? And he kind of looks at him and he looks at, it almost gives like a triple take. He's like, I didn't know. And Cooper's like sighs. He's like, look, I want to help. I'll do whatever I can, but there's got to be another way. And Charlie's like, look where we are, Coop. Half the guys in here have killed people. Maybe not the right ones. Robert House is just one person. Then this lady goes up to the podium, Diane Welsh. She's like the congresswoman for the district of Glendale. And she's like, if you never heard of me, it's probably because I'm the only sitting congressperson in this administration to have refused corporate funding. So while I may not be able to afford TV spots and billboards, I don't think America can afford any more corporate influence on Washington. And someone's like, get on with it. And people are like, ha, ha, ha. So, she's a little flustered or whatever. And she's like, well, today's not about me. It's about you and the sacrifices, that you made. And as a friend to their brothers and sisters in the armed forces, it's my honor to award. And she's like, oh, let me find my card here. And she drops a bunch of note cards. And Cooper tells Charlie, he's like, I think I'm going to hit the head. In the bathroom, there's a man like standing kind of by the mirrors. Is he waiting? So Cooper goes to the urinal. It's Robert. I take that back. I'm not sure. I thought it was Robert House, but doesn't Cooper know? Wouldn't he know what he looks like? Because he has dark. He's a white dude, has dark hair, has a little mustache, just like Robert House. The problem is, so with Prime Videos, like what I love about Prime is when you pause it, you got the X-ray stuff, and it tells you like all the actors in that scene, like all the actors' music. It credits it, which is awesome. But for some reason, they only showed Cooper. So maybe we're not supposed to know who he is. It was sometimes they won't show something, rare occasions, because it would be a spoiler. But yeah, so I thought it was him, but. Now, after that scene, I was like, wait, is it him? And it's probably such a simple thing, but and I should have like tried to investigate further. So he asked Cooper while Cooper's at the urinal with his back to him. He's like, you getting any awards tonight? And Cooper's like, no. So he doesn't even know who's talking to him. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm just here for an old friend. And then the guy's like, Corporal Charlie Whiteknife. And Cooper's like, yeah, Charlie. And the guy's like, rumor has it, he's a bit of a pinko, is that right? And Cooper's like, I wouldn't know about that. And the guy's like, and what about you, Mr. Howard? So obviously he knows who he is. And Cooper's like, what about me? He's like, oh, Cooper Howard, American veteran, star to silver screen, pinko. And Cooper's like, don't believe everything you read. And the guy's like, oh, don't get me wrong. I sympathize with the pinko point of view. They have grievances with traditional institutions, entirely justified if you ask me. And Cooper's like, I didn't ask you. And the guy's like, well, it's their solution that's the problem. You back a body into a corner, they're liable to try anything. You back billions of bodies in a corner at the same time, tisk. Everyone trying to solve the same problem at the same time with a multitude of solutions, messy, messy. So Cooper's like, I take it you're not a vet? And the guy's like, what gave me away? And Cooper's like, because a vet would know better than to talk politics when a man has his Richard, he didn't say Richard, when he has his Richard in his hand, and then he like walks out. And the guy's like, till next time, Mr. Howard. Then it cuts to the present, the desert base, airships are in the sky. Inside the base, the Yosemite elder, she's like, the codex is clear about the chain of command. Quintus, the kind of leader dude, he's like, we mustn't squander this opportunity. And she's like, I told you, we're out. And he's like, I acknowledge the arrival of the paladin of the Commonwealth complicates the issue, but she's like, I'm not interested in fighting a rebellion, Quintus. And he's like, but the Brotherhood began as an act of rebellion. And Maximus, he's like standing there. There's like some other like elder people. I don't know who they are. But Maximus, he's just sitting there like looking mopey. Like, come on, dude. Quintus is like, before the war, an ordinary captain was sent to a research center in California, Roger Maxson. And when he saw what they were doing there, depraved experiments on human subjects, well, then Robert Maxson had to ask himself, who did he serve? His God or his government? He chose his God. He shot the scientists. He shot the people who tried to stop him. His government had defied God, and for that, he defied his government. But he wasn't punished. He was saved so that he could found our noble order. If our rebellion is righteous, the way will be paid for us. And she's like, I told you, I don't go in for the religious stuff. And she stands, and she's like, give the cold fusion relic to the Commonwealth. And she leaves. Quintus exhales in exasperation, and then Maximus speaks. He's like, my lord, this Xander guy, I could just kill him. Quintus and the others, like at the table, like whatever, they stare at him. And Maximus is like, well, that's what we do here, isn't it? And then they turn and look at Quintus, and he like nods. He's like, behold the dimness of the sword. We just lost the alliance. If we kill Xander, the envoy from the Commonwealth, it will be war. And without the support of the other chapters, it will end with all our heads on spikes. Maximus was like, yes, my lord, but if our cause is righteous, I have no need for the thoughts of a sword. Like yells at him. He's like, leave. And Maximus just like stands there. And then Quintus is like, must I repeat myself? And Maximus is like, no, my lord. And he stares at him for like maybe a couple seconds, and then he leaves. So as he's walking out, Xander calls out, he's like, hey, there he is. So Maximus stops, he turns, and he's like, what do you want? He's like, well, my rival seems to have put a damper on the conversation. Your clerics won't even look at me. He's like, you guys have a lot of clerics, you know that? And Maximus is like, yeah, I guess we do. He's like, yeah, scurrying around everywhere like little cockroaches. And he like chuckles. He's like, right? He's like, I mean, we have clerics back at the Commonwealth. They're just not like in charge, And I know every chapter of the Brotherhood is a little different, but this one sucks. No offense. And Max was like, I shouldn't be talking to you. Chain of command. And he's like, good man. See, that's a soldier for you. And he steps closer. He's like, your elder cleric is about to make a mistake. It's like the Brotherhood that you believe in, that I believe in, we're the last bastion of order in this country. We are the bulwark against chaos. If you ask me, tormenting a rebellion sounds like a lot like chaos. And Maximus just kind of nods. And he's like, back east, it's guys like us who call the shots. People who put their butts on line. It's like, that is the foundation to the Brotherhood ethos. Your clerics, what do they know? Like, they stand around, give speeches. We are the ones who bleed. And Max is like, what do you want me to do about it? And he's like, just talk to me, This is the first time that the Brotherhood has been on the verge of civil war, but if us soldiers figure something out, it won't be the first time that cooler heads have prevailed. So he's like, what do you say? Maximus is like, yeah, let's talk. And Xander's like, hot dog. So back at the Roman base, Ghoul stands on a ridge, like looking down with like a spy scope. And he's like, well, Miss Lucy, how's that golden rule working out for you now? Because he sees that she's like up on a cross. Then he's like, WTF? because he sees the two Caesars, like their thrones with like the different dudes. It's like, kind of looks like we got ourselves a civil war. He's like, well, poop. What do you think, dog? Then he stands down by this gate, and it's like resort and country club, and there's like a California flag. So he takes a hit off one of his inhaler things, whatever. He looks at dog meat. He's like, what? Don't look at me like that. I don't like her either, but we're gonna need her down the line. I ain't going up against 2 legions in one afternoon. It's like, we need some help, and this place is about the best place to get it. Used to be, anyways. So he walks in. There are a bunch of tents, but it's like, wait, is there no one around? He goes inside this building. He gets startled when this like TV turns on. Ha ha ha! How would it, partner? But it's actually not a TV. He's like, is that you, Victor? Victor. That sure does sound familiar. So it's this robot with like this kind of cowboy, like on a metal with the metal chest. There's like, you know, like a screen or whatever there. He's like, well, dagnabbit, spent the last 10 years thinking I was a soda machine. And Ghoul's like, what the fudge are you doing here? He's like, well, beats me, partner. Someone did a number on my numbers. Memory's all jibble jabber. And Ghoul's like, is that right? Well, I gotta save a dip poop vaulty from the Legion. Came here hoping to get some help from the NCR. And he's like, NCR? I ain't seen him. And he's like, who's running these parts these days? It's like, well, you know how it is around here. The NCR and the Legion going at each other like cats and dogs. Though now, we got the Legion fighting the Legion like cats and dogs, too. And Ghoul's like, is that so? And Victor's like, but you know what they say in Vegas? Everyone's a winner, eventually. And Ghoul's like, the same goes for losing. In my experience, except for one man, the man that built you. Where's Robert House? And Victor's like, he's gone. He had all the money in the world, but all he really wanted was to live forever. Life just ain't fair, I guess. And Ghoul's like, well, typically I would agree, but you should know better than anyone that House had a knack for planning ahead. And Victor's like, oh, he had plans all right, but he needed the cold fusion doodad from before the war. Didn't you have something to do with that? Way back when? And Ghoul doesn't say anything. It's like, oh, you're leaving already? Because he like starts walking out. Ain't nobody around to keep poor Victor company these days. Just them rangers up in the hill. And Ghoul stops. And Ghoul's like, rangers in the hills? And Victor's like, well, you know how it is. The NCR and the Legion, they can't stop fighting. Like cats and the dogs. And Ghoul's like, much obliged, Victor. So then we see Maximus and Xander. They walk to his airship, and Maximus says, like, don't we need a pilot? And Xander's like, and let someone else have all the fun? He's like, let's go. And Max is like, well, should I grab my... And Xander's like, you don't need your armor. He's like, I got a spare you could use. And Max was like, they give you spares? In the ship, Maximus smiles as he's looking at the armor, and he's like, motion assist servos? He's like, oh, that's nice. And Xander's like, yeah, I don't know anything about that poop. I just know how to kick ass in it, you know? And Maximus was like, all right. And he kind of laughs. And Xander's like, you ever flown one of these? And he's like, oh, no. He's like, let me give you the controls right now. He's like, no. He's like, flip the switch. And he's like, no. He's like, you sure? He's like, okay. He's like, you got to try it. I think he's just like teasing him. Then a bit, he's like, hey, Maximus, can we just be hard for a second? And he's like, yeah. He's like, unless your guy Quintus gives me that relic, you and me are going to be on the front line shooting each other soon. And I know you're very good, but trust me, you don't want that heat. And I don't know. I'm just thinking, if I go home with a relic, there's no bloodshed, you know? He's like, I'll be honest with you, man. We really are up against it back home. Without that relic you found, we risk losing the Commonwealth. And if the Commonwealth falls, civilization won't last much longer. And Max is like, what do you mean won't last? And Xander's like, I mean, look at it out here. It can get worse. Trust me. Just think about it. That's all. Trust your judgment, Maximus. And then a sensor starts beeping, and Xander gets excited. He's like, power signatures in a complex nearby. Looks like unauthorized automated activity. Maximus is like, you're 2,000 miles away from home. It's like, what do you care about a couple of robots in the desert? He's like, we're the Brotherhood of Steel. We keep the wasteland safe. This is what we do. This is what we get to do, he laughs. He's like, oh, here it is, a hot dog. And he puts out his fist. He's like, huh? And Maximus, he fist bumps him. And Maximus is like, hot dog. So Ghoul walks He's like walking dog meat, like barking and whining. He's like, oh, I know. And then there's a gunshot. And this dude, like on this rock nearby, he missed him by kind of by a bit. And then someone's like, Captain Rodriguez at a New California Republic. And then the screen tells us this is the NCR. And Ghoul says more to himself. He's like, well, I can see your salutations haven't changed. And then there's a dude standing next to him. And he slams the butt of his rifle in Ghoul's face, knocks him down, and puts his foot on Ghoul's chest. And he's wearing this helmet. It's kind of like a gas mask and like a helmet, whatever. He points his rifle at Ghoul, and Rodriguez comes out. And she's like, stop, don't hurt him. And the guy's like, why not? And the captain, so the woman, she's like, this Ghoul and the NCR go way back. So the dude lifts his foot, and Ghoul starts like kind of laughing. So then Ghoul's like looking around. He's like, if I may, New California Republic may want to drop the word new because y'all looking dusty as hell. It's like, where is everybody? And she's like, up here, it's just us. We've been cut off from reinforcements for more than a decade. When Shady Sands fell, we had a battalion out east. It's like, we could still get to them. He's like, Shady Sands? He's like, you do know that was over 20 years ago, right? And she doesn't say anything. But then she's like, Legion has us boxed in. We've lost touch with our battalion. It's like, please, help us contact them. Let our people know that we're still out here. And Ghoul chuckles. And she's like, what's so funny? He's like, I'm in a minor predicament. I came to the NCR looking for help based on the cozy-ass assumption that the good guys would prevail in the great states of Nevada. And she's like, well, we're winning the war. And he's like, well, if this is winning, I would hate to see what losing looks like. He's like, starts coughing a bit. And she's like staring at him. And she's like, the stuff we fight for, clean water, schools, rights for folks like you. The story has it, you used to believe in those things too. And she opens this like metal tin with like 4 vials of the amber liquid stuff that he takes to keep his mind so he doesn't go like all zombie-like or whatever. And she's like, please help us before we're captured. So he takes the tin and stares at him. He's like, ain't nobody coming because there ain't nobody left. And then he like dumps the vials in his hands and puts them in his pocket. I could have swore he dropped one when he did that, and he didn't pick it up. It's like, okay, he's got 4 vials, those things are, and why are you taking them out of the tin? You're just gonna put them in your pocket so they'll jangle against each other and possibly break? Because even if it's like thick glass, it's still glass. I don't know. He starts walking away. And so I don't know if he actually dropped one or if it was just a goof up and there's like whatever. So then he's like, a little piece of advice that's helped me sleep at night over the years. When something's dead, it's usually because it deserved to die. Then we see Xander and Maximus, they like bust into this building. They're in their armored suits. And it looks like it's Victor the robot where he's at. There's like 2 voices talking, kind of like rambling. Then he starts like shooting out of one of his hands. And Xander pulls out this like sledgehammer type thing. He asks Maximus, he's like, you ever seen one of these? And there's like a flame. There's like a little mini jet or rocket like on the side. So he goes up to Victor and he like bumps him and he swings, but he misses. And he hits his wall, like he puts a pretty big dent in the wall. Victor keeps like shooting, and Xander's like, "Oh, is that all you got?" Then he runs to him. He like jumps. He swings, with the hammer thing. Victor keeps shooting, and he asks Maximus if he's like, "You want a piece of this?" Maximus like shoots at Victor. He swings and he smashes the screen on Victor's chest, and he smiles, and Victor falls flat on his face. And then they fist bump. So poor Victor. Lucy is still tied to the cross. A vulture is like starting to like peck away at the body tied to a cross next to her, and her vision is going blurry. Probably from like the heat, no water, whatever. And then like a crow or raven lands by her hand, and she sees Ghoul walk by and look at her. But it's like, wait, did she really see that? Is he really there? Because he's at the other place, the New California Republic. Because she kind of sees him, but it's blurry. And then Ghoul heads towards the Kaiser. He's like, wait, or whatever the fudge y'all say to each other. And Lacerta's like, you claim to have information for Kaiser? And he's like, well, I understand that the Legion ain't fans of the linear progression of time, or the soft C for that matter. But I bet you still understand cause and effect. Now, I'll give you something you want, and well, you give me something I want. Lacerta's like, or we can put you up top to cross till you give us what we want. And Ghoul's like, well, yeah, you could do that, or you could exterminate the last holdout of the new California Republic. So the soldiers like kind of murmur. He's like, I can tell you where they're hiding. Back at the fundraiser in the past, Cooper is sitting listening to White Knife speak. People are like kind of laughing and, you know, at his jokes and his comments, whatever. And then he talks about serving with Cooper. And you're talking about one point, then stuff was going on. Then he's like, he looked up at me. He's like, you know what he said? He's like, you remember Coop? And Cooper's like sitting in the audience. He's like, how do I look? And people laugh. And White Knight, Charlie's like, that's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lie. I mean, the movie star Cooper Howard, he probably would have said that. But the man I was looking at, he looked up at me and he said, how are the others? Nearly burnt alive. And he was worried about our squad. Like fudging Marines, huh? We like to tell stories about what we did out there. Well, not all of them anyways. Some of them we can't tell. And then while he's like talking, we see it flashes back to the future. We see Lucy like dizzy, still like hanging. But Charlie's like, but the ones we do tell? And then we see Lucy, she got cut down. It's like, did the birds cut her down? Did someone cut her down? Charlie's like, we tell them to make us feel good about what we did. And Lucy like falls, she hits the dirt, she's just lying there. And then we see, obviously, Ghoul's shadow like walk up to her. And then she like looks up and she sees him. And Charlie's like, to give us hope that it was all for the right reasons. But we're just Marines. It's like, we don't get the privilege of knowing. We just had to go off on what they told us. So Ghoul helps her up. And Charlie's like, they told us that it was all on the line. Faded a whole free world with all the stakes stacked up that high. We didn't get much choice, did we? It's like, and I guarantee you, the guys on the other side got told the same poop. So then the Kaiser talks to his men. He's like, tonight we bury the new California Republic. The men cheer. Ghoul and Lucy are like walking. She's still like out of it, like, you know, stumbling around. Ghoul sees like a few barrels of dynamite. And Charlie in the past, he's like, at the end of the day, we just got to hope that we bet on the right side. It's like the side that protects the people you love. Because if it did, I guess that's worth doing pretty much anything, even something bad. So is he saying that Cooper basically turned on the NCR? Or, yeah, was it NCR? And he's going to give them the location of where they're at, just so he could save Lucy? Yeah, so Charlie says something, I guess it was worth doing for anything. It was even if it was something bad, and Cooper kind of looks down when Charlie's talking, and he's like, anyways, thank you for the potato salad. He's like, it was, and they kind of laugh. He's like, it was good seeing you, and thank you. And there's applause. And then the congresswoman comes, he's given like a lighter, and Cooper just like continues looking down. So in the present, Lucy's like walking now, and she's like breathing shakily, and she's like, thank you. And he's like, don't thank me yet. In the past, Charlie sits by Cooper. You know, he goes out to him, hands over the lighter. He's like, this is for you. He's like, they gave me that for saving a man, not for killing the 3 it took to do it. And he gets up, pats Cooper on the shoulder, and leaves. So obviously they went through some stuff. And this was, you know, just thinking about like what he said about Cooper. It's like, you know, maybe he's not that bad of a guy. Cooper, in the present, he still has a lighter. It's like super old, and I don't even know if it works. You know, he tries like kind of flicking it. Maybe just needs fluid. I don't know. And then he's like, well, no, it must work. Yeah, I'm going to say it does work. Because then he's like, maybe this was a mistake. And she's like, why? What did you do? He's like, I don't know. Maybe something good, or maybe something stupid. And then there's an explosion at the camp. So he probably must have lit a fuse for the dynamite or something like that, right? Because that's why he looks at it and they show these barrels that clearly mark dynamite. And Lucy like looks, there's gunfire going. The two sides are like fighting each other in confusion. There's like all this like dirt and smoke and stuff like that. And then they just like walk off. Xander and Maximus, they're walking through the building, and then you see it, there's a spinning bottle in another room. And then they see some kind of like feet under a table. So Xander laughs. He's like, on your feet. And then they see a kid Ghoul, and Max was like, oh no. And Xander opens his armor faceplate. He's like, "Aw, it's just a baby abomination." He's like, "Hey, buddy." He's like, "Where are your friends?" And the Maximus, he's like, "Where there's one, there's always another." He's like, "All right, I know there's more of you here, so you better come on out." He's like, "Don't worry, we're not going to hurt you." They slowly start like creeping out. And he's like, "Ah, good little ones." He's like laughing. He's like, "Oh, jackpot." He's like, "Were you guys playing hide and seek? I love that game." The Maximus tells him, he's like, with the helmet, he's like, "You're okay, you're okay." And Xander's like, "Yeah, you're all okay." He's like, "All right, I'm going to split you up into 2 groups, okay? If you have smooth skin, walk over to the side of the table. If you have wrinkles, stay right here in front of me, okay?" And then Maximus in the armor, he's like, "Hey, wait, Xander. And then Xander's like, "All right, smooth skins, close your eyes." And Maximus is like, "Please stop." And then, "Hey, hello," Thaddeus pops out. He's like, "I'm the manager here, and I just ask you, please don't do what you're about to do. I know I don't have a lot of leverage here or anything, but you know, they're just kids, so who cares, right?" And Xander's like, "They're not kids. They're abominations. And so are you." And then Xander closes his faceplate. And Maximus is like, "But they are kids, Xander." Xander is like, come on, man. We don't, please, Xander, please stop." And he's like, "The codex is clear on this. And without the rules, where are we?" And Maximus is like, "Fudge the codex." He's like, "Xander, listen to me." And Thaddeus is like, "Oh, no. And then Xander's like, "Hot dog." And Maximus is like, "Stop, Xander, wait." And Thaddeus is like, no. And then his fingers start to squeeze on a trigger. He's got this big like Gatling gun thing. And then, wham! Maximus slams Xander on the top of the helmet with that rocket sledgehammer. And there's like the helmet's like kind of caved in at the top. And then Xander just goes down. And the sledgehammer is like kind of stuck in his head, like the rocket's still going. Everyone's like quiet for a bit. And Maximus opens his faceplate, and Thaddeus sees him. He recognizes him. He's like, "Hey, man." And Maximus is like, "Hey." And Thaddeus is like, "What you been up to?" And Maximus is like, "I think I just started a war." And Thaddeus is like, "Okay, yeah, well, I'm the floor manager here, so it sounds like we both got a lot going on right now." And he's like, "Yeah." And that's where it ends. So Maximus did the right thing, saved the kids, regardless of their ghouls or not, stopped Xander from just butchering them, but now there's going to be a war. So that was, again, better than the last episode. So that was episode 3. Episode 4 is out. Episode 5 will be coming out also, depending on when you listen to this. So I'll probably double up at some point, in the next week or two, because there's going to be nothing else for me to talk about. All right, now Stranger Things, season 5, episode 7, The Bridge. At least I am. I'm in dangerous territory now, because now the show is over. All episodes are out, and for me, it's a matter. I have the final episode to watch. I got to worry about spoilers. Going back to the school, students are talking about like, "Oh, what this?" Someone's like, "Well, Vecna's not really totally a bad guy," or, whatever. And I'm just thinking, it's like, man, you better not spoil, anything for me. And then what I realize, it's like the final episode's 2 hours. That's not an episode. That's 2 episodes. What are you doing? Which I guess that makes sense why they showed the final episode in theaters, because I was like, oh, okay, the episodes are maybe an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes. It's like, that's a short trip to the theater, but 2 hours. And then the other thing, I've been kind of racing my daughter. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but when it was like the first 2 episodes, she hadn't watched any yet. Then like next day she's like, "Oh, I watched, whatever, 5 and 6." And then she was going to watch. I was like, maybe you should slow down. It's like there's only don't do it all at once, and just enjoy it and process. But part of it is like I didn't want her to get ahead of me. And then so I was watching episode 7 and everything, and once I finally finished it, I was like, man, I just finished 7. And she was like, "Oh, I'm done." I already watched the whole thing. I was like, wait, did you watch all of it? She's like, yeah. She's like, I it was like the Friday after or whatever. She's like, I watched. I was like, oh man. Now, I mentioned this last week during the news. Episode 507, The Bridge. This is the episode that has been review bombed. And we'll talk about it at the end. Why? I enjoyed most of this episode. What I don't enjoy is friggin' Callie, the 11 sister. I don't trust her, and I don't like what she's saying, what she's suggesting. But I'm trying to figure out why people are so upset. I think it's pretty obvious. And I actually went on IMDb because, I don't know if that's the only place where they review bombed it. And I'm looking at all these, they're getting a little smarter. They're not flat out saying what their problem is, like what the issue is. They're trying to say, oh man, this season, it's slowing things down, the writing's bad, or this or whatever. And it's like, okay, you're just avoiding what your real problem is. All right, so let's get to it. We can talk about this at the end. And I don't want to dwell too much on it because I don't know if there's any point of it. But at the same time, whatever. All right, so it starts off, I feel like so much happened in this episode, so I'm trying to think back. Max, starts to open her eyes. Because the episode before, 506, Max goes through the portal, and then it's black, and you hear a heart monitor. So I was like, wait, what's going on? Because she's not hooked up to her heart monitor because Lucas is carrying her. So she starts to open her eyes. Lucas is encouraging her when he sees that she's it. He's like, yes. He's like, that's it. And she kind of struggles to talk, and she whispers, she's like, hello, Lucas. And because again, it hasn't been 2 years. Has it been 2 years? It says how old are these kids? How much time has passed? I know for us, a lot of time has passed. But so has she been in a coma for 2 years? I don't know. That seems, but they keep saying that. He keeps talking to her, Robin, Vicky, and Karen Wheeler, Mike and Nancy and Holly's mom. They're watching, and Max sheds a tear, and Lucas cautiously is like, "Are you okay? Do you hurt anywhere?" She's like, "I can't feel much." Then he's like, "Do you feel this? Do you feel my hand?" And she's like, "A little." Then he's like, "Can you see?" And she's like, the lights are really, really bright. So Vicky tells her, she's like, well, you haven't used your eyes or your muscles for a long time. Your body's just weak. It just needs to readjust and learn again. It's like, okay, Vicky, are you a doctor now? Because I thought, no offense, but I thought the candy stripers, that they're not even nurses. They're nurses in training, maybe? I don't know. It was just kind of funny. And it's for our benefit. I get it, but it's kind of funny. Vicky's like, you're going to be okay. And Lucas like, I knew you were there. I always knew you were still there. And Max like, I saw you waiting for me, playing my song. And he's like, are you bored of it yet? And she shakes her head. She's like, are you? And he nods. And she laughs. Because he must have listened to it so many times. Then Max like, it turns out, and this is like, dude, you're rubbing it. She's like, it turns out the whole time I didn't even need it. I just needed you, just you. So he's probably like, dang it. It's like, I played it over and over again for nothing, but no, I mean, she did because she heard it, she could hear it and whatever. So then he leans in and hugs her and she kind of sits up and they continue hugging. Then Mike, 11, Hopper and Callie arrive and Elle's like, Max, it's like, you're here. You're really here. And she's like, I'm here. Now, this is one thing. A lot of people complain that, 11 and Max, there wasn't much interaction with them. So some people were like they cut some footage or whatever. But then I saw one report where people were like, no, there is no Snyder cut of. Yeah, so I don't know where people are saying that all this stuff was cut. But it's why would you cut it? This episode was just a little over an hour, and if the final one was 2 hours, why would you cut? I mean, if it's for pacing, but this is stuff that people are complaining about, oh, there's no interaction, so I don't know. So then Hopper's like, welcome home, kid. And Mike, holds on to his mom, and he's like, took your sweet time, didn't you?
And Max like chuckles softly, and she's like, "Screw you, Wheeler." And she's like, "Where am I?" And Robin's like, "Yeah, that would be confusing." She's like, "You were being hunted by demo dogs, and we were all seconds away from becoming lunch when Mrs. Wheeler came and did laundry." So you see like the dead demos, their flesh is still sizzling. And Mike's like, "Holy spit, Mom." And she just like nods. And Mac's like, "Vecna, he'll be angry. He'll try and find me, and he'll know we escaped." And Mike's like, "Where's Holly? Where is she?" And Max isn't sure what to say. And so at first I'm watching this, it's like, where is Max? It's like this whole time, no one's like, you're back. And no one's like, where's Holly? No one's saying anything about it. But then she's like, he'll know we escaped. So Holly slowly opens her eyes and her vision's like blurred. And then she sees like all the like Vecna wall tendril stuff, whatever. She sees the other kids are wrapped in the walls with like tubes in their mouth and that. And she has like one in hers. She starts to strain. She's able to push her hand through like the webbing, whatever stuff that's wrapped around her, and she pulls the thing out. So it's like, thankfully, it doesn't seem to be like going down her throat, like when you get incubated or whatever. It's just like over her mouth, like with kind of like a suction. So she gasps, and the thing like slithers back, and she frees herself, and she stumbles down. And like one thing I noticed, it's like, wait, where's her shoes? It's like, why didn't she have any shoes? Did she have, maybe she didn't have shoes in the house when she was taken? I don't know. But she like gags and she vomits out some of the black particle stuff, and it's like the smoke, whatever, it just like swoops up. So she stands and she looks around, and she sees Vecna hanging up above. So she starts running. She reaches kind of like, sort of like a cave opening. It's, not the same cave that Max was in. And she sees like this big canyon in front of her. There's kind of like orange sky, so it's not red like the upside down. It's more of like a like golden orangish whatever color. There's clouds, a little bit of lightning, but there's nothing around. But there's kind of like this tree-like structure thing that she came out of, and she turns and she sees Vecna is lowering himself like slowly. So she starts running. And Vecna growls as he reaches the ground, and then the tube tendril things like holding him up like on his back, they disconnect and they retract to somewhere, and then he looks up with a glare, so he's not happy because they're gone. Okay, then we see Jonathan. He's trying to open the door to the conference room. He's like trying to slam his shoulder into it. And he continues. He like backs up, tries kicking it, slamming into it. Nancy is like, Jonathan. And she's like, stop. And he's like, what? And she's like, if we hurt ourselves, we're really screwed. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So he sits. He's like, okay, now what? And she's like, anything else you want to confess? Then they get startled by this loud pounding, like something's coming at them from the other side of the room, like breaking through. So it's like, okay, great, now what? So something busts through. It's Steve banging through the wall with a fire extinguisher. And it's kind of convenient that he knew exactly where to bust into. And Steve's like, sorry, we're late. And it's like Steve helps her through the hole. He asks if she's okay. Dustin gives her like a huge hug because he's feeling all emotional, whatever. Steve helps Jonathan through, so that was cool. And then Dustin asks Nancy, he's like, was that weird? I'm sorry, was that weird? He's like, we both thought. And she's like, we were goners? Because he's saying, was it weird? This big, long hug, because probably never hugged his friend's sister. And she's like, we thought we were goners. Like, yeah, we did too. And Jonathan's like, turns out that shield generator yours? And Steve's like, isn't really a shield generator. He's like, yeah, we know. And Nancy's like, well, you'd think that would have been good information to share? And then Steve holds up like the tape up walkie-talkie antenna. He's like, well, we tried. And Dustin's like, the antenna kind of snapped. And then they both are like, it's his fault. Nancy's like, okay, so then what the hell did I shoot? And Dustin's like, exotic matter. And Jonathan's like, and we're supposed to know what that is? So Dustin shows him like the journal, the Dr. Brunner's notebook, whatever, from 1983. He's like, this thing is a gold mine. All his research into the gate, how he created it, and what it really is. He's like, I'm still deciphering it, and Steve's like, this poop will fry your brain. And then Dustin's like, Cliff notes, Holly isn't on the other side of the wall. And then Nancy's like, then where is she? And Dustin's like, I don't know exactly, but wherever she is, it's not the upside down. Holly's continued running through the orangish rocky desert. So again, she's just running in her socks. There's like loud, like crackling behind her. She stumbles and falls flat. She catches her breath and she looks to see what she tripped on. There's kind of like a crack with like red underneath, like reddish light. And then she thinks of Max's word. Max is like, when he took me, he opened a fourth final gate, splitting Hawkins in two. So she strains to lift up, like pull a rock out. She sees Vecna's coming, so she strains some more, and then she sees like the red spidery, like webby, whatever stuff below. So it's like, okay, decisions is what she can do. She grabs her Holly the heroic figure around her neck. She's like, you can do this. And she goes in head first. And it looks like she's now in the upside down, but she's upside down, like her hair is hanging up. And the camera then like turns, and then she starts falling and screaming. And she's falling a long time. She's like way up somewhere. And then there's like floating rocks around her. There's like clouds and there's lightning. So it's just like, what? Holy crap! Like, what is she? How is she gonna? What is she gonna land on? So then it cuts back to the four Nancy, Jonathan, Dustin, and Steve looking at the journal, and then like Nancy stands up, and I'm like, wait, did she hear Holly? Because she's like, what was that? And Steve's like, what was what? And she whispers like, Holly, and she starts running. So Holly is still falling, and she sees something approaching, or like, she's approaching the ground. There's like this big X-shaped building, which is, she's falling at the lab. And then we get the intro at this point. And then we see Mr. Clark. He's in the field. He hoists up a bunch of balloons, like tied to a line. He talks over walkie-talkie. He's like, Voyager, Beta, any signal yet? So Erica has a line up, and she looks at the scanner. It's like all zero. She's like, negative, Voyager, Alpha. And she's like, Voyager, Gamma. Then we get Murray. Again, Murray's supposed to be funny, right? He's like, a big fat zero over here. It's like, your balloon experiment is a dud, Snookums. It's so annoying that he like insists on calling him Snookums. It's like, give it a rest already. He's just like such a jerk. And it's like, okay, you should be thankful. This guy is actually willing to help. That's awesome. He's like, let's just put the antenna on the van and drive. And he's like, well, as I said, Voyager Gamma, given the uneven terrain and forested nature of Hawkins, a vehicle is simply not the most expedient way to pinpoint a telemetry tag. And Murray yells that, they've been building his GD balloon experiment for 6 hours. And Clark says that once they triangulate the three signals, he'll be able to pinpoint Dustin's precise locations. Murray says, he's like, well, you can't triangulate poop if you can't get a signal. So they should just cut their losses now before his star student ends up, dead in a ditch. Then Clark, thinks about that. And he's like, cut our losses. And then he cuts his line with the balloons. His scanner starts to beep right away. And he's like, I secured a location on Dustin. So he tells Murray and Erica to loosen their balloons because they need more height. So Erica releases hers, or extends it. She gets a reading. Murray, he gets a reading. And he's like, I take it back, Snookums, you mad genius. And Clark starts he's working out the calculations. At Hopper's cabin, Will sits on a bed. He's thinking about Vecna's words, you are going to be my spy one last time. And he's like fighting the tears. Joyce gets his attention, and she's like, Hopper just radio. Max is safe. And he gives like this relieved sigh. And she's like, none of this could happen without you. Everything's going to be okay. And he's like, but for how long, Mom? He's like, if Lucas is right, today is the day Vecna is going to act. She's like, I thought I had him, but the truth is I never stood a chance, and he knew it. He's always known it. And that's why out of everyone in Hawkins, he chose me because he knew I was weak. He knew that he could control me. And she's like, that's not true. He's like, it is, Mom. She's like, I was his vessel to channel his powers, to spy, to build. And she's like, to build? He's like, the tunnels. So this is what I was wondering. I was like, where are all these tunnels conveniently located? He's like, they didn't spread from the gate on their own. Every night I jacked into the hive and took control of the vines, using them to tunnel and infecting our world with the upside down. It's like so many died because of me. And if I could do all of that, what could he do with 12 more like me? And she's like, you listen to me. None of what happened is your fault. As for his big plan, he's not going to have 12 vessels or whatever he calls them because he just lost Holly and she'll know where the others are. It's not over, not by a long shot. He's like, you're wrong. It's my fault. He starts crying. Several soldiers like pull up to the hospital. Vicky like walks past like several in the hall. She's pushing a wheelchair. Down below, Max is like, I couldn't see where Holly was going to wake up, but I figured wherever Vecna was keeping her, it had to be in the upside down. So I told her to just go home. And Mike's like, home? As in our home? And Robin's like, meaning we have to get back to the upside down where's the nearest rift, to you? And Mike's like, off Cornwalls, I think. He's like about a mile and a half, give or take. So Erica calls Lucas on a walkie-talkie, and he says that he can't really talk right now. And Mike says that, Vecna took out a lot of soldiers, so it should be easier to get into the MAC, the MAC, whatever. Hopper's like no, it's like they're going to have reinforcements by now. 11 says that, she can break through a plate. And Karen's like, she's like, are you saying Holly is trapped under a steel plate? And Robin's like, without context, that might sound troubling, but she's not pancaked under a giant hunk of steel or anything. And Mike's like, he's like shaking his head. She's like, how do I talk about this? And Mike's like, well, there's this world under ours. And Robin's like, under the plates. And Elle's like, the upside down. And Robin's like, yeah. And it's just like Hawkins, only way suckier. Lucas is like, guys. It's like, okay, you really won't believe this, but Erica and Mr. Clark came through. They found Dustin and the others. Hopper says that, they're going to be able to find Holly a lot easier than they are. Then the doors bust open. It like startles them. So it's Vicky with the wheelchair. And she's like, we better hurry. We got company. So they push Max in a wheelchair. They go down the hall. Karen's like kind of stumbles and Mike catches her. And she's like, I'm fine. And Vicky's like, with all due respect, you're not. It's like, you can get an infection, hemorrhage, God forbid, stop breathing. And she's like, if you think I'm going to stay in my bed when my daughter needs me, you're out of your GD mind. He's like, let's go. And Mike's like, Mom. It's like, she's right. It's like, hey, you saved us, and by some miracle, you're still here, okay? But right now, you need to trust me that we can handle this, the rest of the way. And she's like, there might be more of those things out there. And he's like, they're called demogorgons. He's like, I know. There's so much I need to tell you about this upside and L. But right now, all you need to know is that this group saved Will when no one else could. We did that. And we're about to do the same thing with Holly. We're going to bring her back to you, Mom. He's like, I promise, okay? So she agrees. So they pull up to where Mr. Clark is with Erica, and Mike, thanks him for the assist. And he says, like, well, don't thank me yet. It's like, we've successfully trilaterated Dustin's position or something like that to there. So he's like, to precisely where I stand now. Erica says that by the time they arrived, he was like MIA. And Robin's like, well, he wouldn't be precisely here. He'd be under. So Mr. Clark looks like at her confused. And Mike says that Erica is like, you didn't tell him? And he's like, told me what? So before she can answer, she's surprised to see Lucas pushing Max in chair. So Murray calls them from like a lower parking level. And he's like, I got Dustin. So they go down. Mike says, he's like, I don't hear anything. And Murray's like, just be patient. He's like, then, they hear some static. And through the static, they hear Dustin. Is anyone there? Repeat, this is Dustin. So Mike grabs a walkie. He's like, Dustin, this is Mike. Holly's escaped from Vecna, and she's on her way to my house in the Upside Down. I need you to get there as fast as you can to rendezvous with Holly. He's like, do you copy? And he's like, Holly's not at the house. We found her. You repeat. We found, and Mike's like, Dustin, I'm losing you. Dustin. They're so ecstatic. So then Rob's like, am I crazy, or did he just say he found Holly? Mike says that, wherever she escaped from, the lab must have been en route to his house. Lucas says that she just happens to, she just happened to run into Dustin. It's like, what are the odds? And then Erica's like, low as poop. And she's like, but I say it's about time we had some luck. Mr. Clark's like, I'm sorry, I still won't follow. Dustin is under those plates? And Ron was like, yeah, but not pancaked. So they get to like a corner of the building. Hopper stops him. He looks with binoculars and he sees a couple cameras on like a pole by like where the rifts, the metal plates are. Clark says that he has an old spectrum analyzer back at the club. He's like, if I could just locate their RF signal, I should be able to jam the transmission. Hopper's like, that's cool, but I think you're overthinking it. So then we see a couple soldiers like in a like TV, whatever, room, monitor room. One of the feeds starts to flicker, but they don't like even notice it right away. So Levin used her TK powers to like rip the camera down, and Mr. Clark's like looking kind of like in shock, and Hopper's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. And then she uses her powers to lift up a steel plate and flip it over. And there's like red sticky membrane stuff underneath. So she wipes at her nose, of course. And Murray's like, you coming, Snookums? And it's like, does he have a crush on Mr. Clark? So Mr. Clark's like, we're going in there? We're going in there? So they all go over and they call out to others. Vicky asks Robin, it's like, is this poop safe to breathe? And she's like, unclear. Because there's all these like particles, whatever, just floating around. Lucas and Max stayed on the other side, and he talks to Mike over the walkie-talkie. Then Mike hears Dustin calling through the fog, and Mike tells Lucas, he's like, we found him. Dustin runs up, gives Mike a hug. Then he sees Jonathan, Steve, and Nancy. But here's the part, I'm like, wait, what is going on? Because Nancy doesn't look too happy. And he's like, Nancy? Like, where is she? Where's Holly? And Holly's like silent. I'm like, where's Holly? I was like, where's Holly? It's like, you didn't kill her. What? Because she was falling. And it's not like you got a big giant net or anything. So then it cuts back to them reading the journal inside. Nancy hears Holly scream, and she stands, and she's like, what was that? And they're like, what was what? There's more screaming. She's like, Holly. So they run out. You see Holly falling. The lab is like down below. She's quickly approaching it. So they go up to the roof, where different part of the roof. They're able to get up there. Things are a little more stable, I guess. And Holly yells at Nancy. She's like, get me down. And she's kind of like floating there. And then, shoom, she gets like pulled like back up, and she's like gone out of sight. And they just like stand there like staring. So then the present, Nancy's like, it was like something had a hold of her, but you couldn't see anything. It was him, Vecna. It had to be. So Lucas radios and asks if Holly's okay. Max is looking concerned. And in the upside down, Mike looks up at the sky. So then we see Holly's like floating, she's like laying, like floating horizontally, like behind Vecna. He's like walking, across the orangish, whatever, rocky landscape. They go back to that big like tree structure thing. He puts her back in the wall. The tube goes back in her mouth. And he's like, don't worry, Holly. It will all be over soon. It will all be over. It's like, she got away and now she's caught again. Then Sullivan, he's like one of the leaders in charge, whatever, and he tells Dr. K and Ackers, he's in a like hospital ward, he's like laying in the bed. He's like, it was some sort of demon, a demon from the other world. He can control monsters, move Humvees, stop fire. Bullets couldn't touch him. Nothing could. It's like, it wasn't a fight. It was a damn massacre. So then outside, this part, Ackers, he's so annoying. He's like, first we get mutant dogs at the hospital, now a GD demon in the Mac. I forget if they say it's Mac. I think it's Mac they call it. And he's like, you want to tell me what else is about to pop out of that hellhole, or should we leave it as a surprise? And it's like, okay, you kind of got an attitude here, buddy. It's like you're in some sort of armed service. There's a hierarchy. It's like you shouldn't just be. The other people were like afraid of Dr. K, and he's just like talking to her like this, and he's like, I don't know if you noticed, but suddenly we're light on men, and she's like, reinforcements are on the way. Any additional requests? Talk to your unit commander. He's like, well, how am I supposed to know what to request when I don't know what I'm fighting? She's like, you're not fighting anything. This is not a war. This is a search. Something gets in your way, kill it. But otherwise, keep your focus on finding the girl. He's like, find a girl, find a girl. Is that all you can say? I mean, you got a pull string under that jacket of yours or what? And then she grabs him by the front of his jacket, slams him against like this metal container or something like that. It's like, boom. And she's like, everything that has happened here is because of that girl. And if you had just done your job and found her, then I wouldn't have to repeat myself, and we'd have those monsters in Moscow where they'd be killing Soviets instead of Americans. The dead men, the children, their blood is on your hands, Lieutenant, not mine. And unless you want to join them, I would watch that GD tongue. And then she like grabs and like kind of squeezes his bottom lip, and she kind of pushes it, like releases it out of her hand, and she's like walks away. And he's just standing there. He gets a call on his walkie-talkie. It's like, we got a rift breach at the old lab. He's like, on my way. So the others make it back over. Will and Joyce drive up. Will like runs out of the car, gives Max a long like hug in her chair, and she's like, so I leave you alone for a second and you turn into a sorcerer? He's like, oh, it was a little more than a second, and I'm not really a sorcerer. She's like, sure seems like it to me. Lucas asks Max if she's up for tour, because they take her around the radio station. And he says that the other guy skipped town before the quarantine. They sort of moved in, kept the station going as a cover while they like operated out of the basement. And he like look, check this out. He pushes in the radio control room. There's a sound. It's like a belch or whatever like that. But she doesn't really react. And then he gets like close and he's like, we're gonna get Holly back. And Max is like, she's all alone in there, Lucas, alone with that monster. And I was so sure that she could make it out. I was so stupid. He's like, you had to try. She's like, I should have stayed there. I should have kept her safe. He's like, then we'd all be screwed. He's like, you've been in Vecna's mind. You can help us beat him. She's like, no, I can't. I don't even know where Vecna's keeping Holly. So Dustin's like nearby. He's like, well, it's a good thing I do. I know where she is, but the real challenge is getting there. I was like, I got to show you guys something. So on like a glass window between the station or whatever, the main room and the like kind of like waiting or living room type of thing at station, whatever you want to call it. he draws with a marker, splits it to show Hawkins and the Upside Down. He splits it like horizontally. He's like, we've always assumed the Upside Down was another dimension opened by Brenner, but it turns out it's actually a bridge, which is the name of the episode. He's like, more specifically, an interdimensional bridge that rips through space-time. It's wildly unstable, but held together by exotic matter, which we found dead center right above the lab. It's like, in theoretical physics, they call this type of bridge, and Mr. Clark and Erica both like, a wormhole. And Dustin's like, and this wormhole connects Hawkins to here. And he like draws. He's like, another world that I've coined the abyss. And Robin's like, any particular reason? It's like, there's so many people just like in this class, like this lesson, whatever he's giving. So Mr. Clark's like, a realm of pure chaos and evil. Robin's like, I'm sorry. And then Eric and almost everyone else like, D&D. Hopper's like, Jesus Christ. And Dustin's like, I believe this abyss, because Hopper is like, he's like, you D&D nerds. He's like, oh my gosh. So Dustin's like, I believe this abyss is a true home of the Demogorgons, the Vines, the Mind Flayer, and all the nasty poop we found in the Upside Down. It's where all those years ago, you, 11, like banished Henry. He was lost for years, and he would have stayed lost if it wasn't for Brenner. And I was like, he had me find Henry. And Dustin's like, and when you made remote contact with the abyss, the bridge formed. Ever since, Henry and his army of monsters have been using it to cross right back into Hawkins. It's like, we kicked Vecna's butt last year, but he just fled across the bridge back to the abyss to lick his wounds. And Joyce's like, so all this time, Vecna's been hiding in the sky? Nancy's like, explains why every crawl led to a dead end. Elle's like, and why I can't find him in the bath. Jonathan's like, yeah, and why Holly fell from the sky. Hopper's like, yeah, but why is he taking kids up there? And Will's like, for the same reason he took me. And he's like, the minds of the children are weaker, right? So more easily molded and controlled. So he channels his thoughts and powers through me to amplify his abilities. And he's going to do the same with those kids. Hopper's like, amplify to do what? Mac's like, move worlds. Holly, she said Henry told the kids that they would help him draw the worlds together. I didn't understand what that meant at the time, and Mike's like, he wants to move the abyss, crash into Hawkins? Will's like, no, not crash, merge. And Will goes up to the glass, and he draws at the top. Henry wasn't licking his wounds in the abyss. He was making rifts, weakening the abyss, just like he weakened Hawkins. So when the abyss and Hawkins collide, and Dustin's like, they become one. So then she's like, he's remaking the world. And Steve's like, how long do we think this takes to move worlds? Mike's like, we better hope we have some time, because if this is all correct, we have to get 2,000 feet in the air, find our way into the abyss, free Holly and the kids, and kill Vecna before the worlds merge. And then Luke is like, and if my theory is right, he's going to move worlds tonight. And Robin's like, have I mentioned how much I hate your theory? And the others agree. They're like, yeah, it sucks. And Hopper's like, I hate all of this, but at least now we know what we're up against and what we need to do. We just need a plan. So Henry, in his dream house, he carries Holly and puts her in the bed. He covers her with a blanket. And her one friend, Mary, knocks at the door. And she's like, I don't mean to pry. Everyone's so worried. Is she going to be okay? And Henry doesn't say anything. And then he must have talked to them downstairs when a girl says to him, you must have told her that this Max was a monster in disguise. And, that he was tricking her by lying. And he's like, of course. I've tried everything, but she won't listen. It's like, we need her tonight or we will fail. And now the girl's like, what did this Max tell her? And he's like, such awful, awful things. He told her I kidnapped you. And they're like, what? And this other one's like, you rescued us. And he's like, I know. That's not even the worst of it. And Derek's like standing quietly. And Henry's like, she told her, I don't want to save the world. I want to end it. So then Holly's friend, Mary, is like, how could she believe that? This boy's like, I think his name's Thomas. Because she's stupid as poop. That's how. And Henry's like, no, she's not stupid, Henry. The monster is incredibly powerful. And she works for the black thing. She has corrupted Holly's mind and dragged her out of the light and taken her into the dark. Derek's like, maybe we should give up and go home then. This other kid's like, go home. And Derek's like, to be with our parents. So this kid's like, we could all die. This other girl's like, what's wrong with you? And Tom's like, shut your trap, dip poop. And Henry's like, please, let's not turn on each other. It's like, I know we're all upset. Perhaps Derek is right. Perhaps I have failed and the black thing has won. So Henry's like, but perhaps Derek is right. Perhaps I have failed and the black thing has won. And Mary's like, no, we can't let it win. We won't. You don't know Holly like we do. I've been her best friend since kindergarten. Debbie's her second best friend, and she crushes hard on Josh. And this kid's like, no, she doesn't. And she's like, yes, she does. Which I don't see what the point is. He's like, Mary's like, my point is maybe if we all try and talk to her, we can fix her. We can bring her back to the light. And they all agree. They're like, back to the light. Back to the light. They're like chanting, like this mini cult. And Derek's like, he's standing there looking concerned. And Henry just sits there and he slowly starts to smile because he's so creepy. Soldiers look at where the cameras went down and where the metal plate was lifted. Ackers looks, he crouches, he scoffs. She's getting reckless, sloppy. It's like, is she really? This other dude's like, could be one of those damn monsters. And Acker's like, a monster who breaks padlocks and cameras? I don't think so. It's her. Rally the rest of the team. Tell them to lock and load. We're going in. At the station, they're still making plans. Hopper, he says, at the base in the upside down, there's a chopper ready for the taking. We fly up to the abyss, kill the freak, rescue the kids, fly back down. And Dustin's like, who do you expect to fly this thing? He's like, it's a helicopter. They've got pilots. We force one to fly. Robin's like, another kidnapping plot. Love it. And Mike's like, how is this pilot gonna fly a chopper into the rift? Hopper's like, what do you mean? He's like, we just fly through it. And they're like, wait, what? And they're like, Dustin's like, these rotors are like 40 feet wide. It's too big. It's not gonna fit. Robin, like, she makes some joke that's not really appropriate about fitting, and she mentions Steve. That doesn't make any sense. And Steve's like, what's wrong with you? Murray's like, well, I thought it was funny. And Hopper gets mad. He's like, look, if somebody else has some magic beans that I don't know about, I'm all ears. If not, it's a risk that we got to take. We fly or we die. Murray's like, fly or die. Dustin's like, well, then I guess we die. Hopper's like, we're not going to die if we commit to a plan. Dustin's like, can we weigh out a few more options before? He's like, you said we had to get up to 2,000 feet. And everyone's like talking, arguing. Steve's thinking. He's like, magic bean. He's like, we don't need a magic bean to climb. No one hears him because they're all like bickering, stuff like that. So he yells. He's like, we don't need a magic bean. And he's like, sorry, just, we don't need it. A magic bean. We got a beanstalk right here. And he makes this little demonstration. So he's got like a flashlight, like standing up on like upside, like on the light part, like going straight up. He's like, the flashlight is a squawk radio tower, and the slinky, puts a slinky over it, is the bridge. He extends it up over like the flashlight handle. He's like, we'll never reach the abyss from the tower, right? But Max said Vecna is drawing our worlds together, so we let him, and we wait and wait as he draws it closer and closer. And when it's close enough, when the tower is poking through one of the rifts, bam! Elle makes her move. She does her meditation thingy, enters Vecna's sick mind, and ambushes him. And then, stopping the spell, halting the worlds from moving, wham, voila! We've got a beanstalk. It's perfect. All we got to do is climb up into the abyss. Dustin kind of looks impressed. Erica's like, I like it. And Mike's like, it's not totally insane. And Steve's like, thank you. But then Mike's like, but there is one problem, a big one. Elle's like, I can't reach inside Vecna's mind. He's too far away. And Steve's like, well, can't you try? Don't, like load up on some of your junk food or something? And Nancy's like, or better, we get you close. It's like the upside down lab is under its layer and is still frozen time, which means everything should be there from Brenner's experiments, including, and she's like, the bath. Mac's like, if you do make it into his mind, I can walk you through it, guide you. I know his sick mind inside and out. Callie says, she's like, I should be there too. She's like, this plan hinges on stopping Henry, and right now, Jane is fighting him alone. It doesn't need to be that way. I can follow her into his mind. And it's like Hopper, at first I was like, wait, did he like just roll his eyes or look away? And at this point, I was like, I do not trust Callie. There's something about her. I don't know what it is. She's like, we can end a brother together. And Steve's like, yeah. He's like, I dig it. Sisters killed her brother. We rescue the kiddos. Come home, heroes. And if Lucas is right, we don't have a lot of time. So we have to move fast. And then Dustin grabs like a kitchen timer, like a minute timer thing. He's like, one final thing. On the way out, we drop a bomb near the exotic matter, set a timer, escape the upside down, the bridge collapses, and with it, the abyss, the demos, the mind flayer, all of it, gone. Game, set, match. So Holly suddenly wakes up and she freaks out. Her friends are all there in the room to try to calm her down. They're like, it's okay, you're safe. And all the kids are standing there. One kid's like, welcome back, Holly. And then they all say it together. They're like, welcome back, Holly. And then Mary's like, or she says to Mary, she's like, where is he? And Mary's like, Mr. What's it? Downstairs. This other girl's like, he's worried about you. And Mary's like, so worried. And Holly's like, no. Mary, you need to listen. Mr. What's it? He's not who he says he is. He didn't really save us. And she's like, he's kidnapped us. He's trying to destroy the world. Holly, Mr. What's it has told us everything. Those are lies. Evil, nasty lies. Holly's like, no, they're not. And she's like, that other girl you met, Max, she's not a human. She's a monster. And this boy's like, she twisted your mind. Holly's like, that's not true. Max is a friend, and she's helping us. She's helping us get back home to our families. We're all trapped in Mr. What's-It mind. Everything you see, none of it is real. It's like, come on, you have to believe me, please. And she starts like crying. It's like, you have to believe me. You have to believe me. Derek, tell him. And he looks over at all the like that non-believing, like judgy faces looking down at him. And he thinks back to when like Henry showed him his dead mom and sister. And he turns to her and he's like, they're right, Holly. Max lied to us. And she's like, I don't understand. Everything she showed me seems so real. I knew not to go into the woods, but I I went there anyways, and I just feel so stupid. This other girl's like, "You're not stupid, Holly." The first girl, whatever, she's like, "None of this is your fault." So Holly like reaches for her stereo with a Tiffany cassette, and Mary's like, the important thing is that you're here. That you're here. Justin, Holly smacks Mary in the face with the stereo, and then she hits that. What's his name? Thomas, with she hits him in the side, and she runs out of room. Thomas, he gets, he just got hit in the side with a little stereo. So he pushes her down the stairs, but luckily it's just like a small stairs with like a landing, and he calls her a witch. Not a witch. And he grabs her by the leg to like drag her, but she kicks him with her other leg. So I'm like, go Holly. But then he recovers right away. He grabs her arm. This other kid grabs her other arm. And then she pushes Thomas back, but he comes back. And Mary goes around back, starts like kind of choking her with her necklace. She's like pulling back. I don't know if she was intending this or just trying to grab her, whatever, like grab her hair or something. But then the necklace breaks. The beads go flying. Her figure falls to the floor. And then she goes down like a big, long flight of stairs. I was just like, oh my gosh. That is. And where's like Henry during all this? He's like, oh yeah, let the kids fight each other and potentially maybe, is Holly going to like break her neck? Elle used her powers to lift Murray's like knocked over truck with the hole on top and blood again in her nostril. Callie was just like standing there watching because, I guess her powers, she doesn't have TK powers, right? Hopper, he's walking, talks to Joyce. He's like, of all the people she had to go with, it's like, it had to be her. He's talking about Callie. And Joyce is like, I'll trust her. Maybe we should too. And he's like, no, she's up to something. I'm sure of it. Elle's not going to listen to me. And Joyce is like, what happened to the two of you down there? And he's like, she thinks I don't believe in her. But it's also because he had the bomb, the vest that he was going to kill himself. So he says that she doesn't think I don't believe in her. Joyce is like, well, which isn't true. He's like, no, of course not. And Joyce is like, well, have you told her that? And he's like, she thinks she's invincible, and that's not the case. Joyce is like, yeah, that's not what I asked. He's like, I can work on repairing things between us when I get to the other side of this. But right now, I need to make sure that she gets out of this alive. That Callie, she makes one false move, I swear to God, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her, and I will not hesitate. Anything happens to Elle in that tank, I am pulling her out. It's like, I can't lose her, Joyce. It's like, I can't. And she like touches his face. She's like, one last crawl. She's like, one last crawl. And he goes down the tunnel. Will is staring at the drawing of the map that they drew. Vicky rolls Max in, and she says that she gets a headache trying to make sense of it all, but she thinks that she got a C- in physics, so she'll just trust the nerds. Vicky asks Will if he thinks the plan will work, and Max is like, well, it has to, right? And she's like, I just wish I wasn't stuck here. It's like, I feel useless. Will's like, Ellen and Callie are going to need you in the mine. It's like, I'm the one who's useless. And Mac's like, you can still go there to the abyss. He's like, it's too risky. He's like, I'd be at the heart of the hive mind. He's like, I don't know what would happen. Last time I got too close, he used me to spy, and it almost got you killed, Max. And she's like, you also saved my life. And it's like, remember? And it's like, plus, I've been almost killed plenty of times at the hands of this a-hole, so I'm kind of used to it at this point. And he's like, how did you survive in there? Like this whole time in Henry's mind. Mac's like, honestly, luck. I found this cave. It was from this old memory of his, and he was terrified of it. So he wouldn't go in, scared the living poop out of him. Underneath all those scars, he's still human, a psychopath with a serious God complex, but human, I guess. It's like we're all scared of something, right? So Robin, she talks to Mike, checking some contraption that he built. He's like, just imagine that this bike bell is the bomb's remote trigger, okay? So when this wire touches this warrior here, he's got a little figure, he's like, kaboom. And she's like, genius. One thing is, I don't know if we can blow up the upside down to the dulcet tones of the butthole surfers. And Mike's like, I built the bomb. I should be able to pick the record. And Robin's like, you can pick the record. You just have to follow one simple rule, which is pick a good record. And I'm just like, eye roll. It's like, okay, whatever, Robin. So the bickering continues. She says she has a better record, which would be the replacements. And the others are, we see that they're getting guns ready. Nancy stops Steve because he's holding a gun. She's like, have you ever handled one before? He's like, not exactly, but, BB guns, air rifles, duck hunt. And she's like, duck hunt? And Dustin's like, he's remarkably good at it. He's like, but I have a better idea. He takes Steve into this other room where there's like two like bloodied, serrated blades that are like taped to these long poles. So he says that he's like, they're deadlier than they look. He takes one for himself, and Steve's like, hey, some of the stuff that I said earlier, and Dustin's like, it's fine, it's okay. And Steve's like, no, it's not okay. Eddie, he saved your life, our lives, and I know what that means to you, or what he meant to you. He's like, I can't even imagine how hard it's been. But instead of just being there for you, I got angry about it. I guess I got angry because things were different, because I really missed you. And he puts his like hand on his shoulder. He's like, I miss my best friend. And like Dustin has a tear. He's like, yeah, I miss my best friend too. They hug. And he's like, for the record, a Rubik's Cube isn't even a good measure of intelligence. And he's like, and your beanstalk plan? Seriously, only a genius could have come up with that. And Steve's like, yeah, well, I learned from the best. And Dustin's like, that's true. Silver lining, if it fails, we both go down. You die, I die. And Steve's like, or Dustin's like, you die, I die. So Erica's watching the base gate. She's in the tower. Car's at the gate. She counts down the gate opening. As it opened, Mr. Clark is recording like the signal. He's like, got it. So she radios that they've secured the gate signal. Murray says that, tell Snookums his timing is moi. So he gets in the truck because they're going to leave, but then his truck won't start. And he starts cursing. Nearby, Elle and Callie sit in the field back to back. And then she's like, hi, sister. And Elle's like, hi. And she's like, have you ever done this before? So then it cuts to them inside each other's minds, just like the black room with like just little puddles of water. She's like, shared your mind like this? Elle's like, shakes her head. Have you? With my other psychic friends all the time. I'm glad we're here. Elle's like, me too. And she's like, even after yesterday, have you thought about it? What it all means? And Elle's like, I was thinking when we blow up the bridge, we blow up Dr. K's lab, we'll end her experiment. Stupid Cal was like, Kay will simply make a new lab. And I was like, so we kill her. She replaced Papa. Another will replace her. And I was like, then we can go away somewhere we can hide from them. And stupid Cal is like, oh, like somewhere with at least one waterfall? And it's like, ugh. So Elle like lets go of her hands and just like turns away. And Callie's like, it's a fantasy, Jane. If you flee with Mike, maybe you're safe for a while. But when they find you, and they will kill Mike just as they killed my friends. Then they will take you, and with your blood, they will create more children who will suffer as we have. And with these children, they will open up more gates and more worlds. Don't you see, Jane? It's a cycle, a terrible, vicious cycle. But we can stop it tonight. And she's like, how? Callie's like, after we kill our brother, after the children are rescued, we don't leave with the others. We stay on the bridge. When the upside down vanishes, and she takes Elle's hands again, so will we. And Elle like sheds a tear. It's the only way, Jane. The only way. So, but then it's like, did she try to mind whammy whatever Elle? But then Murray like honks the horn and like snaps them out of it. He's like, you ladies done meditating? And he says the truck's ready to go. So Callie gets up right away. Al's like upset, which again, okay, is basically knowing Callie is trying to convince her to do like a suicide pact. Or I don't know if they're going to die or just be trapped in this other world. They lit up the back of the truck. Will walks up to his mom. He says, earlier today when she asked what happened in Vecta's mind, he didn't tell her everything. And he's like, when Vecna attacks, he weakens you by turning your mind against you, by bringing out everything inside that hurts. So I fought back by focusing on happy memories, memories from when I was a kid, from when I was scared, from when I felt most happy. That's how I took control in the Mac Z and how I killed those demos. And I thought the same would work on Vecna too, but he found a way past. And he showed me things, Mom. He showed me the most awful things. And she's like, listen, whatever he showed you, it's not real. He plays tricks. He lies. And was like, no, he doesn't. What he showed me, it doesn't come from him. It came from me. He sees everything, Mom. He sees my thoughts, sees my memories, and he sees my secrets. It's like, but Max, she told me he's also afraid, which proves I can beat him. But for me to do that, you need to know. I think you need to know the truth. And the door barges open, and Mike walks in. He's like, sorry. We just heard from Hop. He's like 15 minutes out, so we should probably leave in 5. Everything okay? And Joyce is like, yeah, we'll be out in a minute. And then so Mike starts to leave, and Will's like, wait, I think you need to hear this too. Everyone does. So most likely this is a part that everyone, the certain people didn't like. So they're all in a room now. Will's like fidgeting. He's like, I haven't told any of you this because I don't want you to see me differently. But the truth is, the truth is, I am different. I just pretended like I wasn't because I didn't want to be. I wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to be like my friends, and I am like you. I'm like you in almost every way. We like playing D&D into the night, and we like that old person smell in Mike's basement, and we like biking to Melvad's for malted milkshakes, and we like getting lost in the woods and getting lost in Family Video and arguing about what to rent and settling on Holy Grail for the millionth time and blah 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 all this stuff. He's like, literally all the same things. I don't like girls. And Mike, Lucas, and Dustin, they seem a little confused. Jonathan looks like he wants to like try to comfort him, do something. Robin like nods at him, like, okay, keep going. He's like, I mean, I do, just not like you guys do. And I had this crush on someone, even though I know they're not like me, but then I realize he's just my Tammy. And Robin's like about to cry for him. He's like, and by Tammy, I mean, it was never about him. It was about me. And I thought I was finally okay with myself. But then today Vecna showed me what would happen if I did this, if I told you guys the truth. And we see Jonathan, like, Jonathan looks like he's about to cry. Because, this is his little brother, he's seeing his little brother, like, in pain. He's like, he showed me a future. And in this future, some of you are just worried for me, worried that things might be harder for me. And it just makes me feel like something's wrong with me. So I push you away. And for the rest of us, we just drift more and more and more apart until I'm alone. And I know none of this has happened, and Vecna can't see into the future, but he can see into our minds, and he knows things. And it felt so real. It felt so real. And Joyce is like, Will, you got to listen to me. That will never, ever happen. You will never lose me, ever. He's like, okay. And Jonathan's like, and you'll never lose me. And he gets up, he hugs his little brother. And Lucas gets up, he's like, or me. And Dustin's like, or me. Mike gets up, he's like, or me. And Elle gets up, or me. And Robin's like, or me. They all like hug Will as he's like sobbing. Robin didn't get up. And Robin's like, guess you didn't need that truth serum, huh? And then Max is like, sorry, this sucks, but you're going to have to hug me. And he's like, oh, Max. And Max is like, just imagine I'm hugging you really tight, okay? He's like, okay. Then he sighs. He's like, Elle, I know you're strong enough to defeat Vecna, but he can't retreat to the physical world, and we need to be ready to fight him there too. We have bullets and fire, but none of that helped those soldiers. I need to be there, and I'm ready. I'm ready to show him I'm not afraid anymore. Dustin like nods, and Mike like nods. At the base, soldier comes out of the guard's gate. He's like, is there a delivery tonight? They're like, negative. So Murray's like speeding towards the gate. Mr. Clark hits the signal. Erica reports like other guards on watchtowers, they're getting ready. They start shooting. Then Hopper shoots from a different vantage points, takes out like some of the guards. Murray, or Mr. Clark, he opens a second gate. Was it someone opens a second gate. Dr. K, a couple soldiers come out shooting. Murray slams on the brakes and he like ducks. And I'm like, did he get hit? Because the window's getting shot. And it's not like these trucks are like bulletproof. Nancy pops out at the top of the hole and she starts shooting, at the hole in the trailer. Dr. K and the others, they have to duck. Nancy takes out like two others and she takes out another soldier like up above, like in some tower thing. Hopper like runs, he gets in the back. Jonathan's like, go, go, go. Murray, he gets up, he starts driving. It's like, okay, he's driving, but he's still trying to duck. Dr. K, she has to like duck out of the way because the truck almost slams into her. Then they turn into like the gate ramp. Dr. K stands there. She's about to shoot at the back. And she sees everyone back there along with 11. She's like glaring at her. They close the back. And then they go through the gate. But again, this truck is not bulletproof. The bullets are going to go right through it because Hopper's like, is everyone all right? And then he tells Nancy, he's like, nice shooting back there. And she's like, thanks. Robin's like hanging tight. And she's like, I kind of thought that was supposed to be the easy part. And Luke is like, it was. Mike asks Elle if she's ready. She's like, ready. Then she looks at stupid Callie and nods at her. Stupid Callie nods back. They drive. Then you see someone strikes a match, lights a candle, lights a bunch of candles. Henry's, there's all these candles on this long table, like in a dining room or whatever. He's like, it's time. He puts out his hands, like all the kids are sitting around the table. Everyone's like joins hands. Holly's sitting at the opposite end. Her forehead is bloody, and she kind of looks dazed. And then she actually takes like their hands too. Henry closes his eyes. Then all the kids' heads jerk back, and their eyes go white. And then you hear a clock, tick, 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 and that's the end of the 7th episode. So that was the penultimate episode. 1 episode left, 2 hours long. Now, speaking of hours, that was about an hour just to go through that because these episodes are so long. But I just want to say, and like, what I said at the beginning, I don't want to harp on this so much, but I don't see why people are so upset about this. The whole thing with Will, obviously this is something that's been a lot, he has feelings for Mike. He had a crush on Mike. This was hard for him. And a lot of people were like, oh, one, this is the 80s. So, it's going to be hard. It's a lot different to come out, or would have been a lot different to come out in the 80s than it would be now. Today, thankfully, people seem to be more accepting. There's still people that are complete. Obviously, there's people who are still complete homophobic. And I feel like that is the reason why they're to make this the lowest rated episode of Stranger Things. Just because Will comes out, and it's not like they just suddenly made him gay. I mean, we've known this, it's been obvious, but the fact that he tells everyone and then everyone accepts it, people really have a problem with that. So the thing, and this is what it's like. I want to swear. This is what pisses me off about this. It's one thing. If you are not gay, if you don't believe in it, that's fine. You have your own beliefs, great, whatever, you deal with that. But when people are saying that it's wrong, it's not normal or whatever it is. But the thing is, what everyone has to be able to understand, you cannot choose who you like. You cannot choose who you're not going to like wake up one day like, okay, I need to have a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. I'm going to find someone that I'm going to have a crush on, that I'm going to have feelings for, that I'm going to want to date or go to movies or hold hands or whatever. You don't get to choose that. you may have like particularly like, oh, I like, someone with blonde hair or red hair or whatever. You may have your certain, but even that's not it. And it's not just about looks. There's also the personality aspect. You care for people for who they are. And when you fall for someone, you don't necessarily plan on it. It happens. Even if you are going after something, it's like you can't control that connection that's there. And for someone to say like, oh, a guy and a guy can't have a connection, a girl and a girl can't have a connection, that's such crap. You cannot control that. It is just the chemistry, whatever that happens. And I don't understand why someone has such a problem if someone else feels a certain way. Again, if you don't feel that, great, fine. Knock yourself out, live in your own little world, like who you like, do your own thing. But for you to try to tell someone else you can't feel that way, that is not normal, that is not right, you can't say that. Like, totally not even the same. I love Blink 182. I know there are people who don't like Blink 182. Some people don't like it. They think it's crazy. You can't tell me what I like or what to like or what I should like. This is what resonates for me for different reasons. Are they the best band in the world? No, but this is something that means a lot to me. So you can't tell me that I'm wrong for liking them because this is just what I want. You can't do that. You don't have to agree with it. Like what you like. Let me like what I like. Live your life. I'll live my life. Hopefully, we can still talk and be friends. But it just really pisses me off when people have such a fit over someone's sexual orientation, whatever. It is none of your business. If you don't agree with it, then go away. So I mean that's the only thing because this wasn't a horrible. There was a lot of setup for this episode. It's the second to the last friggin' episode. So of course they have to set up. They have to get the plan. They have to get ready to go there. And for people to say, "Oh, nothing happened," it interrupted the flow. It's like no, they're getting things set up. Everyone has to reconvene. Yes, there's way too many people, but we don't even know is everyone going to make it. I don't know that yet. Maybe you do if you looked at the spoilers. But there's a lot of setup for this plan. And this is something that people are like, why does he have to have a coming out party now? Because this was his big fear that his friends that he cares for, that he loves, his best friends, his family, that he was afraid no one is going to like him for who he is, for what he can't control. And Vecna was using that to make him afraid. If you do anything, you're going to be all alone. And he's probably felt so alone because he has felt like he hasn't been able to talk about this to anyone. He's never been able to say, this is what I like, this is how I feel, because he's just so afraid that no one's going to accept that. So he had to say this. Now it's out there. Vecna can't use it against him because now he's not afraid. So how is this not necessary? So there you go. Is it the best episode? No, but I was in tears thinking about what he must be going through. I mean, that's horrific that people feel that way, and that there's people that can't accept it. So that is it. So that's the episode. We got one more episode left, and it's going to be a friggin' long one because it's 2 hours. Maybe I should split it over 2 weeks. Probably not. Okay, so that was a penultimate episode of Stranger Things. Okay, and then the movie feature is Primate. So this is how would you even describe this? It's basically a rabid, dangerous animal, killer animal. It's directed by Johann Roberts. So what I didn't realize when I watched this movie, because I was just like, there's... Okay, backing up. I was not looking forward to this movie. I'm like, really? I was like, is this a prequel to Planet of the Apes? What's going on here? And I was just like, I haven't heard anything about this. I don't know any of the actors in here, but it actually turns out the main actress, Lucy, she was in Dexter New Blood, the last season, whatever. And so I was like, okay, I watched the movie, and there's some there's some cool things about the movie. It's a well done movie. There's issues that I had, which of course I'll talk about them. But what I didn't realize, so the director did 47 Meters Down, also did The Strangers Pray at Night. So that was a second The Strangers movie, which is like at the trailer park. And I'm still confused. This is why I'm so, not obsessed, but why I'm so invested in The Stranger movies, because I want to know more. We had the first Strangers movies with, what's his name, Benjamin from Felicity, Scott Speedman, and Liv Tyler. Horrific movie. You got this couple, they're in this house, this cabin in the woods, whatever, being terrorized by these crazy masked killers. And then I hadn't seen, and I know I've talked about this a couple times now, but then I was like, oh, there's a second one. And I saw it. I didn't see it in 2018. I probably watched it like 2-3 years ago. I was probably like before The Strangers Chapter 1 came out. And I'm like, wait, why are they in a trailer park now? And looking what it says, it's like it's in Ohio. Did they? So I don't know if they're saying like the three killers moved or they packed up, took a road trip, went somewhere else. And I'm like, but then they're also asking, is Tamara home? And who's I don't know. But Johan Robbins also did Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. I know that movie didn't do super well. How did it do? Let's see. That movie, let's see. Okay, it had a $25 million budget. It did $42 million. Not even twice its budget, but I didn't mind it. There's things I liked about the movie, but there's, whatever. With Primate, it's, when I was looking, before I was going into it, I'm like, okay, killer monkey. All right, what are you going to do with this? What does this have to offer me? Whatever. And then I looked at the runtime, 1 hour and 29 minutes. I was like, ooh, okay, that's a choice. I was like, 89 minutes. My thing, which is totally unjustified, is 90 minutes seems like that's a comedy length movie. And if you go less than 90 minutes, that I feel like that's when you start going into like low budget areas. Like the movie that comes to mind is that I think it was called Crawl. It was where there's a flood and it's about alligators, killer alligators. That one I think was like maybe 88 minutes or 83 minutes or something like that. And before I went and saw that, I was like, ooh, this is in the 80s. This is not a good sign. And it was a fine movie. So this movie, 89 minutes, and I, in some ways, I'm kind of thankful for that. Also, because when you have certain movies, and this is where people, like I mentioned before, people complain. It's like, oh, this was too long. It was a little bogged down, a little heavy. They could have cut this or whatever. So this movie doesn't really waste a lot of time. And I feel like because of that, it's like it doesn't want to insult you. It's like, okay, you're here for this horror movie, killer / whatever you want to call it, but we're not going to bog it down just to try to extend it, make it longer. We got the story. We can go boom, 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 done. Roll credits. So I can appreciate that. I'm sure theaters can appreciate it also, because I saw, I don't know if it was on Threads or somewhere, where people were like, oh, with Avatar, they don't even have time to, or I think someone said, and I don't know if this is true, because I don't see how, I feel like people would complain about this. Someone said that as soon as the credits started rolling, the movie stopped. And part of it is so they can go in and try to clean the theaters before the next showing, because the movies are so long, they don't have time to do all that. I don't think you can do that, because if I'm watching a movie and then all of a sudden I'd be like, dude, I paid, I want to read the credits. My uncle's brother's chiropractor's nephew worked on this, and I want to see his name. So I don't know about that, but so this movie, yeah. So 90 minutes, boom, 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 in and out. So that I can appreciate that, and theaters, they can probably appreciate it. That's what I was going for. I was like, what am I talking about? And they can maybe even squeeze in an extra showing if they wanted to, if there was demand for it. I don't know. So the way the movie starts off, and I can appreciate this also. It kind of starts off where we see someone going to talk to the monkey, and then it doesn't go too well. But then it's like 2 days earlier or something like that, or maybe I don't even know if it was for 2 days. But I can appreciate that. It's like, okay, we got this short movie. We're gonna like bam start off and show you like this is what you could expect. But then, okay, we kind of need to back up a little bit because we got to introduce these characters. This is my issue with the movie, is some of these characters where it's like I was just really bothered by them. And as I'm watching this, as I'm seeing like these kids talk or whatever, I'm like, is it bad acting, or is it bad directing, or is it intentional, like bad dialogue or whatever? And I hate to say that because I do not want to insult anyone and their craft. But part of me, I feel like, are they purposely supposed to be annoying? So then we're like, man, I hope this killer monkey does something to this person because I can't stand them. I don't know. And I was thinking about this after the fact. I was like, okay, there's all these young actors in here who I don't know from anything. And I know they've been in other things that I'm just not familiar with. And I was thinking, I was like, this is kind of like the recent I Know What You Did Last Summer, where, we have these young actors and it's like, I don't know who they are. And I kind of don't care who they are because I'm getting older now. So I kind of felt like that. And I'm like, which one did I like better? I don't know. So what we have this movie, basically we have this girl, Lucy. She's going home, and I'm assuming she was in college. And did I miss it? Her whole home happens to be Hawaii. Okay, awesome. She's going home, and her really close friend, I believe it's her friend, like her best friend, is going to stay with her. But then her best friend invited someone else too. And Lucy's not really crazy about her. Because when they're on the plane going back, she's like, oh, I also asked, whatever. And I thought she said to stay with me, but maybe she said to stay with us. Because then when they get taken home or to Lucy's place, it's like, this other dude picks him up. And I don't know who I don't think he was the brother of the one. So I don't know. The gist of what happens is the mother, and I don't want to get, I mean, it's not really spoilers, but there's a chimp living at their place. The mom was like some animal researcher or something like that, and they brought in this chimp. They kind of adopted him. Something happened, and then the dad is deaf. He's actually a deaf actor. He's done other stuff. And, so it's like the chimp learns how to sign and can sign all this stuff and, communicate and everything. So the chimp is basically part of the family. And, his name is Ben. And what unfortunately happens, because you see like, oh, this is cute, this little chimp, and he's wearing a shirt, and Lucy got him a teddy bear, and it's so cute. He gets bit by a rabid animal and ends up getting rabies. And so you see, like, he at the beginning, he's not feeling well. And then what ends up happening is, and it's almost like, I mean, I'm no rabies expert, but I almost feel like, did he get like some sort of super rabies? Because, I mean, what happens, at first, like, they mentioned one thing in the movie, they're like, there's no rabies in Hawaii, but I don't know. And so basically Ben gets rabies and starts going after the kids that are there. Oh, so we got Lucy, So who is our characters? We got Lucy, her younger sister, who's there. We got Lucy's best friend, the other girl that came there, and then this dude that Lucy's kind of crushing on, that is like local somewhere. I don't remember what his story was, and maybe I missed it. When they're on the plane, the other girl that was invited was kind of flirting with these two boys who were just like, are they typical college boys? I don't know, but I just found them extremely annoying. And so she was basically like flirting with them and got their number. Because then later it's like, oh, you should come over type of thing. And I'm just going to say this. When they come over, like the whole house is dark because, they're hiding from the monkey type of thing, or they're trapped or whatever. You don't need to worry about that. And they just like, they got the address to the place. They just like walk in and there's like no one there. One thing is weird. It's like, why doesn't anyone turn on the light? There are lots of scenes in this movie that it's like dark. You can see what's going on, but there's a lot of shadows. Is that intentional to make it easier to film? You don't need to worry so much about specific details. But these guys just come in and they're just so annoying, like, oh, get me a beer, and so yeah, that basically the movie is like trying to survive from this super rabies. It's not super rabies, super rabied monkey chimp, and it gets at some points it gets a little gruesome. It doesn't mess around, and so you get what you pay for. You go in, you probably have an idea what to expect, and that's exactly what you're gonna get. So it's a well-made movie for that. But like I said, there's just little things that bother me so much. But the Rotten Tomato score, because I don't know how much we need to talk about this, because I feel like there's not much more to talk about. I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, there was this one death that was whatever, and other things. The Rotten Tomato score is a 76%. So it is, I guess, certified fresh because of that. That means 76% of reviewers gave it a favorable score. Rotten Tomatoes is not giving out scores. They do not do that. The popcorn meter right now is a 75%. So both of these scores could change. I feel like the score was higher than 76 when the movie first came out. Because I feel like the Wednesday or something like that, I saw it posted like on Instagram or something like that. And I thought it was in the 80s, but it dropped to, I don't know, maybe it did, maybe not. 76, audience popcorn meters is a 75%. So, and looking at the comments for the audience on the Rotten Tomato page, people are really digging it. So like starting off the year strong, 5 out of 5. Oh, one is 1 star, trash, not a good movie. The kids had a chance to get out of. Okay, well, I don't want to go into specific. But then there's another one, 4 out of 5. Liked it, caused you to jump, had some violent graphic scenes. 4.5. I've been watching horror films most of my life, and Primate is one of the best I've seen in several years. More stuff. Fun, suspenseful movie, graphic kill scenes. So take the grandparents and kids, good times. So, it seems like they liked it. When I was walking out of the theater, there's one guy, he must have come in late because he's like, wait, how did he, this happen, whatever? And I was like, yeah, that's how he got the rabies. And then the guy's like, I officially hate apes now. So I'm like, okay. And then when I'm walking out of the theater, like outside, and someone's like, that was a good movie. So I was like, so I guess people are like it. So that's good. Yeah, so it's not the greatest movie of the year. It is January, where we don't always have the most awesomest movies, I guess, but it was what it was. So it was better than I thought. It was fine. I didn't love it, but I think other people may have liked it more than me. And maybe it's because I do like chimps. I think they're so cute, and maybe I didn't like that. But that is it. That is Primate. So check it out if you want to see. And what I like, it's not like, oh, supernatural chimp, whatever. So, but apparently there might have been some other inaccuracies, but I'm no expert on. So maybe I just didn't see them all. But that is a movie. So that is going to be it for this week. Big thanks to Andrew Loken for being an awesome supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. And last week I did an off of mine about Back to the Future, more specifically Back to the Future 3, because I wanted to challenge myself, because that's my least favorite of the 3 movies. Talk about some paradox things. There's something else I want to talk about, but I don't want to do too much Back to the Future. I normally do Marvel's What If, but I'm going to maybe take a little break. We'll see how long. So I'm going to do like a classic Silver Age. And it's not really, I shouldn't say classic. It's not like whatever. It's just basically what I'm going to do is go like through one of my old copies and Silver Age books and just see how fun and wacky they are. But if you can't commit to monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. Okay, so what is the movie for next week? At first I was like, what is it? Oh, it's going to be 28 years later, Bone Temple. So we have that. Yeah, that's next week's movie. And then we'll have the Stranger Things finale. We'll have another episode of Fallout, and that might be it. So this is kind of good for me to, it's not too heavy. It shouldn't be super long. I'm still rambling on, but because it's the finale, it's like a double episode. So we got a lot of Stranger Things stuff to talk about, and you're probably like, hurry up, Tony. Let's talk about it. So we have that next week. So I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking care of yourself. And I hope you remember, be good to each other.